And that's why they gave me a knighthood in the New Year's Honours list, which I thought was really nice of the Queen, given how she treated you a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that was
Oh
good.
yeah, V and the Queen, we don't really see eye to eye, I guess you might say.
Yeah, well, she clearly likes one of us, and it's sad that it's not both of us, but that's just the way it is, I guess.
It's never both of us. Darn.
Never both of us.
Oh, I pressed for my lights on.
Okay, just while Brian's turning his lights on, big shout out to Slippery Pete with subscription for 9 months, and Upas as well, subscribed for 11 months. He says top clack with a very big exclamation mark. So thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate that.
That is who we are. Last I checked.
Absolutely, yeah. Luna Summer as well, subscribed for 21 months. Pilot XJ as well, subscribed for tier 1. It says, good evening, Sir Jay and Sir Brian. Well, as you might have heard just at the beginning there, I got my knighthood in the New Year's Honours list, but sadly Brian didn't because of the way he treated the Queen quite recently.
I got whatever the opposite is. It's like the anti knighthood.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm an enemy of the UK.
An enemy of the state. That's it.
Oh golly. Thank you very much for the subs, guys. Pilot SJ says, good evening, Sir Jay and Sir Brian. Yeah. Anti-sir. There you go. Thank you.
Anti-sir. I'm not sure that's the right term, but okay, we'll go with that.
I'm more like a messed up demon.
A messed up demon. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
That's
right. Interesting. So news has just come out just before the show. Upas is saying that VIA is now, or Via is now open for keyboards, and there's a new website. Can I use Via.com? And it basically says yes, I assume.
Really?
Interesting. They've got a guide on how to add your keyboards to VIA.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't see this before the show.
Neither did I. I'm just looking now, and hey, the guide makes sense to me. So if I can do it, that looks pretty easy. And if code looks good, if code looks simple to me, then that's saying something, guys. So that doesn't look particularly difficult. Interesting.
Huh. That's pretty cool. I wonder, does this mean that like anyone is going to be able to use VIA with their PCBs?
I think so. I think it means that
just add any PCB into it, basically.
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. It means that instead of it just being limited to certain PCBs before, it's now open for people to add your own. I assume that I haven't looked through it in detail. I'm literally just looking here now. There's some guides on supported keyboards, and there's kind of like some examples of how to do the coding for it and stuff like that. But I assume you just need to do a pull request into to Via after that, and it would just work. So interesting.
That's amazing. That is absolutely fantastic. I hate the name of the website though.
Can I use Via.com?
There had to have been a better alternative to that, I feel like. But hey,
yeah, potentially.
VIA is amazing. I absolutely love using it, and I'm glad to see we're actually able to get it on more boards now.
I'm wondering if this means they're gonna actually start to add more features to VIA as well, because it's still lacking if you need things like macros and stuff like that. You still need to revert back to QMK to do some things like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. We should probably actually add this to our news list, shouldn't we?
Well, I think we're talking enough about it now, so yeah.
Well, but this is like the pre-show. We haven't officially started yet. We should probably, I don't know. I feel like we should add it to our news doc, but then again, since it's our first time seeing it, I think we're both not entirely caught up on what's going on.
Yeah. So this is where we don't know everything and we're trying to talk about it. But, read the post. Macros custom goes, well, I didn't see the post. I saw the link to the site. Okay, let me read the post. Okay, so yeah, keyboard matrix tester, macro support, custom key codes, configurable layouts, and a mode for keyboard designers to test their integration. Okay, all sounds great. Yeah, okay. Discord channel as well. Nice. Okay, so yeah, looks good.
All right, well there you go. There's even a dark mode for the site. Fantastic.
Or a light mode if it's for you.
Oh yeah, I prefer the light modes because I'm the freak among all of us. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, the worst part previously of VIA was the fact that it was so locked down to, basically what, Olivia, Wilba, and Rama wanted to do effectively. But now we can potentially get some more usage out of it, which is amazing, because VIA is so easy to use that I feel like it should be kind of a standard, honestly.
Yeah. So interesting, the IDBs that I'm just about to ship, they're all in VIA as well. So you can actually, even on some of the budget boards, you can do it. So I think it was really hit and miss as to which boards were or weren't supported. So UPass, you're watching. We've got the JO2 group buy coming up soon. Does that mean we're going to get the JO2 PCB into VIA? That gives me something to think about.
Maybe not a bad idea. Can I get every board I own and every board I ever will own into VIA? That'd be pretty nice.
Well, the thing is, it only needs one person to put the board in, and I think that people were saying it does need some still additional functionality that's not in mainline QMK yet. So there's still some bits and pieces to work out. But I think if someone does it for your board once, you can you can use it then at that point. So hopefully we will see an influx of boards now.
Absolutely. Alright. Talisman gifting a tier 1 sub to Wilson1155. Thank you so much for that.
Nice.
218 gifted subs in this channel from Talisman. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, crazy. Geo's not far behind that on 175. That's pretty close.
It's true. People are wild. You're all maniacs. Every last one of you.
And Langalandia says at Top Clack, you're sexy. I don't know if he means me or you, Brian, but
yes.
Let's just assume it's a yes. Yeah. Okay. And someone mentioned my new mug as well. Who was that? Oh, it was Luna. Luna, yes, orange mug now.
You have a new mug?
I do. I've got a bright orange mug, which is actually French. It's from a brand called Le Creuset.
Ah, yeah, we have that out here.
Yeah. So it actually matches my car quite well. My classic car as a colour, so I bought it for that. And the wife was buying a ton of other stuff there as well. It cost me a small fortune, but yeah.
So what happened to the Ock mug? Do we not get any more of the Ock?
So the Ock mug was fine. It was an Ock. I did have one person who contacted me and said that they would genuinely disliked me using that mug. So that mug has now been retired.
Really?
The only way I don't want to upset or offend anyone. So if it ever is back on Top Clack again, it will purely be by accident, as in it's the last mug I have, and I don't have any others available or something like that. So yeah.
That is unfortunate that someone would be offended by that.
It is, but I can appreciate it. So
sure, yeah. I guess, yeah.
Luna says you should get an Unt mug. Yeah, maybe I could get an Unt mug. That might not offend anyone. So
I mean, if the Ock mug offends people, then the Unt mug is going to affect people too. Let's be real here.
It depends. The person who complained might be Australian. That might be a term of affection to them. I don't know.
Interesting to think about, I suppose. But it's kind of a bummer. We may not ever get to see your steamy hot Ock with your hands all over it anymore.
Yeah. At least not on Top Clack anyway.
Oh boy! All right. OEW just extended their tier 1 subscription through June. Wow. That is
6 months worth of subs.
I didn't even know you could do that. You could just sub in advance. That's pretty crazy.
Months sub. Wow. Yeah.
Man, Twitch is getting fancy.
Yeah. Neb says bad Brian. Yeah. Brian's always bad. We know that.
Was it Neb? Was Neb the one that was offended?
No, it wasn't. No,
Because
no.
Okay. I feel like he'd be a front runner for people that would get offended by that potentially.
It wasn't Nebulan. No. I won't say who it was because it's not fair. But perhaps if enough people say, Doc should come back. The other
well, you see, that's an interesting thought as well, because what's more appropriate? A bunch of people liking it and one person disliking it, or the fact that there is someone out there that does genuinely dislike it and gets offended by it? You have to cater to the least common denominator, don't you? That's kind of how this works.
That's the question. Do you upset the majority to please the minority? I don't know.
Well, no, it will be the other way around. You'd be upsetting the minority here by using it. and then
but by not
potentially
using it,
pleasing
I mean,
the majority.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't use it, does that please more people or less? I don't know.
Something to think about. Something to think about.
Vinan says, I had no strong feelings on it. I thought it was silly. It was silly, I agree completely. But now that someone said they hated it, I think you should use it. So I should use it more.
I mean, but that's the whole point, right? It's supposed to be stupid and fun and silly. Like, it's not supposed to be an attack on anyone.
Absolutely. And Talisman comes up with a really good point. It says, Jay will always be an Ock without a mug to me. And I think that's quite fair. I will always be an Ock.
Old Geo says, I honestly did not like it on the show. Wow. Well, your opinion doesn't really matter anyways. He's the no fun police. Can't.
Mike Click says, if the Ock mug was frightening, what the hell are they doing on the internet? That's true. Internet's a scary place.
If the Ock mug upsets you or offends you, the internet is certainly somewhere you probably don't want to be. I don't know. Joking aside, it's unfortunate, but things do offend people, and sometimes we just have to abide by that.
Yeah, I mean, I always will have the Ock mug. It will always be a part of my life unless it breaks or gets damaged. So please don't worry about the safety of the Ock mug. It is in the cupboard right now. It does get used on a weekly basis. It will be fine. So yeah.
Wilson says we need a top Clack mug. Maybe. That'd be too predictable. I think we need another mug. We need another joking mug.
Yeah, I don't have another joking mug, but I do have one that's going to be coming to you, Brian, with that Mechanistic board I've got for you, the Type X. I've got some Prototypist mugs. Yeah, I've got some for Prototypist.
Oh, golly. All right.
So I've got one for you for that. I've got one for Petrov as well, but Petrov actually owes me a mug in exchange, so he doesn't get his for free. And then I've got one for One Creative Mind as well, for his help.
Oh man, that's hilarious. All right, cool. Well, we've been rambling for a while. We should probably actually start the show, shouldn't we?
we should do. But last thing from us, he says carbon fiber edition for Jay. I need a carbon fiber mug. If someone can find one, DM me a link, because I will definitely buy a carbon fiber mug. Absolutely.
Carbon fiber mug. Interesting.
We'd definitely buy that.
We have like a palm mug, an acrylic mug.
Everything tastes like fish with palm mug because that's how it smells.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, look at the Sirius. Like, the Sirius is a board literally made of all palm. It does not smell bad. But those Novel Keys cream switches are also palm, and those do smell bad. Or at least did smell bad upon the first release. I don't know if that's changed at all in the newer versions, but yeah, that was an interesting scenario that I bet nobody saw coming in switches.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyways, let's officially start the show. I'm gonna roll the intro, and we're gonna stop rambling for the first time time in our lives. Welcome to this week's episode of Top Clack, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Quakums, joined as usual by my lovely co-host, Jay, and we're going to talk about some keyboards today, believe it or not. And hopefully we're all going to have a fantastic time together. We're going to be together, and that's what matters. That's what really matters in this new year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jay, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's as always, it's 2 a.m. in the morning, but I'm living life. I'm excited about what's coming in 2020, and it's my 1 year anniversary on the show today. It's literally to the day 1 year
wow.
since I started on the show, the 3rd of January. So there we go.
So it's not exactly a year. It's a day off. Sorry, we can't celebrate until tomorrow.
For me, it's the 3rd of January though, right now, and it was the 3rd of January on the show. So I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I use your time zone for last year when I was on the show, and my time zone for this year when I'm on the show, it is 1 year. So it's.
We'll go with that. So yes, big congrats to Jay for making it a full year with Top Clack. It's only gotten much better with him, of course, as you all know. So big round of applause for Jay for being a genuinely good person.
Do I get like a Top Clack birthday cake or anything like that? Is that part of the?
No.
Oh.
So, because I'm a terrible person, I didn't even really think about it, so I didn't prepare anything for you at all, Jay.
I see how it is.
But maybe maybe I can come up with something. Don't count me out just yet. I've been a little busy. What do you guys think I should get for Jay? What is Jay's top Clack 1-year anniversary present gonna be, guys?
Yeah, put your thoughts in chat. What should Brian gift me for my 1-year anniversary?
Technically, he got a Christmas bonus. Technically.
Technically, yeah. Okay.
Oh my god. Anyways, let's actually start this show like we've been meaning to. Let's start out with a mail call, as is tradition. Jay, would you like to go first today?
Yeah, so I had a few things. I got my Cat Clack hoodie. Where's the logo? There it is. Cat Clack. Clack Cat, if I can get my words out. Got to echo your thoughts. Really, really happy with the hoodie. It was a sponsorship thing from TKC, so I didn't pay for this or anything, but really comfortable, really lightweight, fits well. Yeah, really happy with it. Keeping in the theme of clothing, I actually got some Linear Gang t-shirts in from Classy, so I got 2 of these. Thank you to Classy for arranging the group buy, and thank you to Noah for buying me a second one. Brian's wearing his. They also came with some really, really interesting stickers, which, for those of you who can't tell on this is Classy himself with a big tub of lube, like a huge tub of lube in the background, because he's the lube master.
What's in the background of that sticker there, up at the top?
I'm gonna guess these are lots of anime stickers, but I don't know what they're from, and they are kind of blurry. And I think it might be the Rule 34 version of anime, whatever that's called. I think that's got a special name, but probably not stream safe to mention it. But I don't know specifically enough detail about that to comment any further.
All right, fair enough.
I also got from Pingu, thank you very much. I got some re-legendable GMK keycaps, which are quite nice. So I'm going to be putting them with the build at some point soon.
Nice.
I also got a ton of switches. So I've got, I think, 400 or 500 black Gaytron switches, Milky Tops ones, 2 bags full. Yeah.
400 or 500?
Something like that, yeah.
Just a casual amount.
I can't remember how many I ordered, but it's something like that. And then the final thing that I got this week was my Secret Santa present came in. So they did leave me a little note, so I do know who my Secret Santa was. So Luna, thank you very much. Really appreciate this. And I got a load of really, really nice prints. So they came framed. You're going to see all the reflection of my stream setup and everything else on here, but they've kind of like logos of, pictures of keyboards doing different things. So there's some different boards and different keycap sets. Sadly, one of the frames did get broken in transit, so I do need to fix that. But it's nothing a bit of wood glue and a staple gun can't fix. But some nice Latralium keycaps there. A very, very special one with lots of ISO enters on, which is really nice.
That's pretty awesome.
And then one with a couple of Alice's on as well. There we go. But saving the best for last, I did get another picture which is a little bit smaller. I
think I know what this one is.
But it's very, very special. It's going to go on my nightstand. And, well, there you go, guys. It is the Quakums himself with his own...
Oh my god.
Is that your RAM M60?
That's my M60 with GMK muted. So here's what's kind of funny. So Lunar, I actually didn't know that's what that was for. Lunar just PM'd me out of the blue and he's like, "Hey, I'm working on a project. Can I get a picture of you, with a board looking cute or something?" I don't remember his exact words, but I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I did that, and then he was like, "Okay, cool, thanks." And like that was it. That was the conversation I had with him about it, basically. So, I had no idea that's what that was for until I saw you post a picture of it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I would have done something way better if I knew it was for that. But I'm glad it worked out nonetheless. That's honestly, though, the jokes aside, that's actually a really good gift. The actual cool. Frames and like putting the prints in there and stuff. That's like a from the actual heart kind of gift, which is pretty.
Yeah,
amazing.
it's something meaningful. It's something that looks good. It's just nice stuff to have. I've actually got a few pieces of artwork up on the wall that you guys can't see. It's just off stream on this wall here, and it's probably due for a bit of a change. So I'm going to put them all up on the wall there. They'll be just off stream, and yeah, it look really good. So yeah, so Luna, thank you very much for those. I really appreciate them. The Brian one did make me chuckle. I do need to find a little picture of me to tape over this bloody keyboard because that would look a lot better. I think, when I put it on my nightstand.
Yes, please.
Yes. But we'll work on that. We'll cover up the keyboard and put a nice pretty J on there, I think.
Fantastic. You have to make it look photoshopped though, because that's like.
Well, I'm just gonna literally print my face on a sticker and or on some paper,
perfect.
Cut it out, and then put some big tape on it and tape it on or something like that. That's how I'm gonna do it, I think.
The faker it looks, the better. I feel like in that kind of scenario.
Right.
Yep.
Like it's just so obvious. I put my face next to it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
I think that was everything I got. I can't think of anything else that came in. So, I think that was everything.
Cool. Well, before I talk about what I have gotten this week, quick shout out to Mountain Blocks, who has donated collectively 333 bits between 2 cheers. So thank you so much for that. It says Happy Thursday, my dudes, and huzzah! Happy Thursday to you as well. And Japanese Horror Raider checking in with his 1,000 bits. He's a little early today. Usually he's a little bit later on the stream, but glad to see you around, Japanese Horror Raider. Thank you so much for the bits. As for what I got this week, following Jay's clothing theme, as you can see, I'm actually wearing, courtesy of Straight Classy, my Linear Gang shirt. He sent me this for free because he's a very awesome, genuine person. Like Jay, I have also received from TKC a Clack Cat hoodie. This is an amazing hoodie. This is like my ideal hoodie. Not necessarily because of the color, or the logo, or whatever, but just in terms of comfort. Most hoodies I find are way too thick or way too uncomfortable. This is neither. This is actually a really thin hoodie, and it's incredibly soft, which I appreciate a lot as someone of my size often overheats. I don't like wearing too thick of clothing, so this is right up my alley. I've been enjoying that. And shout out to Mountain Blocks, who sent me some... I mean, this is a little outdated now because we're past Christmas, but because I didn't have a Christmas-themed ugly sweater on our Christmas episode. Everybody else was wearing one, and I wasn't, because I just don't own any ugly sweaters. So Mountain Blocks was like, "Here, I got you for next time." So he hooked me up with some ugly sweater-styled T-shirts, which are way more up my alley because I don't generally wear anything beyond a T-shirt on my torso at the very least. So he sent me a couple of cool. Yeah, he sent me some ugly sweater kind of stuff there. So that's pretty awesome. I got 4 items of clothing.
Nice.
What else did I get? I got, I don't remember where I put them, but I got some switches back from Straight Classy as well, because I had him do some lube jobs for me, wink wink. And so I was also lucky enough to get some of those amazing stickers that Jay was showing off.
Yeah.
If you're, if you've been paying attention to what's generally behind me on the show, you'll know that over here I usually have a couple totes with a piece of shit TV on top of it that I've had since, I don't know, forever. I recently got a new TV, which is actually behind me right here. I can angle it there. So now I actually have a TV, so nobody has to stare at that stupid tote setup that I have anymore. I know it's going to make Geo pretty happy.
Nice.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of amazing how much TV you can get for your money these days. Because,
for sure. Yeah.
Because that old TV, or not the old TV, but I used to have a TV in 2000, it was either 2008 or 2009 when I bought it. It was a 42-inch LED 1080p TV by a brand called Westinghouse, which is like a really bottom-tier brand. And that TV cost me it was at least $1,000 at the time, new from Best Buy. I walked into Best Buy the other day, and I bought this 55-inch Samsung 4K smart TV for $350.
Nice.
And I was like, it's amazing, how much technology has advanced, with TVs really and panels overall, that you're able to get this much TV for so much less than it used to be. So kind of a side ramble there, but I was just really happy that I was able to get a new TV for $350 that fit everything that I want. So
that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. We've just been looking for a new one for the living room. So we've got an OLED one for the living room, but that's LG. And I think when I first looked at OLED TVs, they were about in dollars, it's probably about $3,000 a couple of years ago, and we got it for half that just now. So it's like prices are dropping crazy on big technology items.
Yeah.
And I think this TV behind me, this is a 65-inch one on the wall here. This is Samsung as well, 4K. So it's probably very similar to yours because this is like 3 years old now. And I think that was only I think that was £900, so it was probably about $1,000 when I bought that. So yeah, prices are coming down crazily. It's
coming
really
down fast. Yeah, it's crazy. And speaking of the value theme, I also got a new phone. Nothing super fancy. This is the kind of more budget-oriented Pixel 3a, which is pretty awesome. So I literally got this today. I started setting it up before the stream, and I was like, oh shit,
Nice.
I should probably start preparing for the show. So I threw that down. So I gotta finish setting that up later. But yeah, finally got a new phone. Finally time to put to rest my 2015 iPhone 6S that I've been using for, well, 4 years now, or almost 5 years, I suppose. So very awesome. New phone, new TV. I'm loving life right now. And it didn't cost
Good.
very much, which is really awesome. I like a good value.
Yeah, good value is always a good thing. Bang for buck, right?
Yes, exactly. So, bam, that's what I've gotten in the last week. So very happy about that.
Cool. Oh, I did get one more thing that I forgot to mention. I got some PPS keycaps in the post, but they're in the kitchen somewhere under a pile of boxes that I haven't sorted out yet. So, Socialite, if you're watching, thank you very much for being my proxy on those. I really appreciate it.
Heck yes, very awesome. All right, so we're going to move into a quick announcement, and then we're going to roll into our news doc, and then, of course, we'll round out the show with a Q&A at the end, like always. So, let's talk about a quick announcement. We have a giveaway. We want to start the New Year's out with a giveaway. One thing that we definitely want to do this year more is giveaways. We didn't really do a whole lot of them in 2019, only kind of like maybe a large handful. There were some good ones in there. Obviously, we were able to give away a Kepler and 2 serious spots, courtesy of Project Keyboard. We gave away a couple clipes already, courtesy of Mechanisk, and there were lots and lots and lots of other good ones as well. But one thing we do want to focus on more is giveaways this year. We want to try to get, at least one a month, if not more. Just to show that we are thankful for, you guys supporting us and watching us and all that good stuff. So without further ado, we're going to start out the first giveaway of the new year, which is a new Clipa, courtesy of Mechanisk. And this is actually one of the newer models, the fancier models that have the removable posts. It has custom cut foam. We're going to be throwing in one of those awesome, fancy WT60D PCBs that was designed by Wilbot. I absolutely love that PCB. It is VIA compatible, and it has those flex slot cuts in it as well. So, very nice stuff there.
People saying the link I've posted's dead. Give me a second, guys, and I'll post it again.
Is it?
But this is the
okay.
Apparently so. Yeah,
I got
don't
it.
know why.
I'll post it.
This is the board, guys. So it's you can see it's got the custom cut foam with the Mechanisk branding on there. It's in this lovely grey colour. I mean, this grey is absolutely glorious. It's really nice, really nice. So yeah, so this is going to be going out to the winner.
Heck yeah! I just reshared the link. Hopefully that one works for you guys. Let me know if it doesn't. Of course, the link, if you also do the giveaway command in chat, I actually set up Nightbot to give you that link beforehand. It'll also be in the description of the VOD for this, the description of the AOD, and it's going to be posted in our announcement section of our official Discord after the show, which is also linked below. So, lots and lots and lots of ways to be able to find this link. But yeah, make sure you get in there, guys, and, win something cool. We're going to try to, like I said, regular giveaways is what we're going to aim for.
Yeah, and with this, guys, when we come to post it, whoever wins it, you don't have to pay anything. Postage is covered, all of that kind of stuff. You don't need to worry about it. Yep. We will make sure that's all taken care of.
International shipping, no problem. If you're able to receive something from us, we're going to send it to you. No big deal.
Yeah, so. I think the list of places we can't get to something is like 2, and I think it's like the North Pole and somewhere else.
Pretty obscure countries, yeah.
Yeah. We can even get stuff to North Korea, guys. So because I've shipped there before. So yeah, don't worry about where you are in the world. We will get it to you in due course. But big shout out to Mechanisk for providing that board. It's really, really kind of Leandrin to do that, and we're absolutely psyched to be able to give it away. So yeah.
Absolutely. So join that, guys. We'll share the link again later on. And, of course, like I mentioned, you can use the giveaway command. That link should pop up for you. But until then, let us roll into our news doc. Oh, the giveaway is also going to be open for about a week. It's going to end right before the show next week at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So about an hour before next week's show. So you have roughly a week to enter. Should give you lots and lots of time.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about some news for this week. Starting with a very interesting keyboard by the legendary AIO3. This is the interest check for the Andromeda. His summit end sculpted TKL is what he's calling it, and let me find the quote here to make sure I get this right. Designed as a cost no object keyboard. So this is the kind of no punches pulled on this one. He went all the way. He tried to do everything he possibly could to get a ridiculously premium product, and he's not caring about what it's going to cost, which is kind of a cool way to go about it. I mean, that's what we saw with something like the Kepler, where it's just kind of like it might be that super high price range that is only for some people, but you do get a lot for your money. So hopefully we'll see something like that here. So a couple quick specs before we take a look at the board. It is going to have an 8-degree typing angle. The case is going to be aluminum. The weight is going to be steel. The plate is going to be aluminum, which is pretty interesting. Presumably the PCB will be QMK, although I don't think he actually mentions that, and it's going to be using a USB-C daughter board. The layout is about as limited on a TKL as you could possibly get. Your only choice for changing anything is going to be whether you want stepped or unstepped caps lock. Everything else has to remain the classic OG win keyless TKL style. The weight is going to be 3.2 kilograms unbuilt. That's going to be the case, the plate, and I believe the PCB with the weight, of course. That's going to be about 7 pounds or 3.2 kilograms, so pretty hefty board. The vendors are going to be Canon keys if you're in the US, and desk keys if you're in Asia, and it's going to be a limited amount, but the amount that it's going to be limited to has not been announced yet.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The price as well is still to be announced, but given its cost no object, it could be quite expensive. I'm interested to see what that price is when it does get announced. But in terms of the look and feel of the board, I've got to be honest, Brian, I think this looks great from pretty much every angle. We said last week that we hadn't seen anything new in terms of design, in terms of TKLs for a long time. It all follows the same kind of stuff. But when you look at the side profile of this board, that shot that's in the first picture with those swooping curves and everything else, it's really fresh and new and nice to see, and I'm really impressed with this. I'm sad that it doesn't support my layout of choice, but I can completely see why AIO3 has decided to limit this and try to go for what is his idea of the perfect board, and it's just got the option on the caps lock. It will support all of those OG keycaps that people love, and I think an OG set of ANSI die subs or something like that on this board would look absolutely fantastic. I'm interested to see what the color choices are as well, because I think it looks great in this silvery white color, which I assume is E-white, and it's just been rendered this way, but I think this looks great.
Yeah, I wish
really excited to see this.
I wish we had some more pictures, potentially some renders with key sets and different environments and lightings, but we only get a few here from the same kind of style. But we do still learn quite a bit from it. So it does take a lot of inspiration from his other designs. He does have kind of a very specific design language, if you will. So you can tell that from both the back of the board and the weight, kind of the way the angle is decided here. What's kind of a little bit more fresh here, and I like that you use the term fresh, Jay, is particularly the side angles here, like you were mentioning. The curvature on this is just ridiculous, and honestly, that's going to cost a lot of machine time, and that's going to drive up the price quite a bit. But again, this is a no expense spared kind of situation. And he wants to make that very obvious, and I think that's pretty awesome. So I do like the way this looks quite a bit. There are a lot of curves there. Very kind of new age, and I kind of like it. It's very fun. What I'm actually really excited for is A, to learn the price of this, and B, to directly compare it to the KBD 8X Mark II, which was also designed by AIO3. And obviously, that is kind of like the custom budget mid-tier TKL of choice in the community right now, just because of how affordable it was and how nice it was for that price. So it'd be interesting to kind of compare the Andromeda when it does launch, which is his super ridiculously high-end, no-expense spared TKL versus the incredibly affordable, budget-minded KBD 8X Mark II, since they are both designed by him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see a few more things as well. So I'm interested to see how the gasket mount works on this board, because it is a gasket mounted board, but it doesn't show any details of how that works. I'm assuming it's going to be pour-on strips or similar in the front and rear bezels of the board, but we'll have to see how that portrays when we see some more details. So some other key things that I've noticed as well is this is a completely screwless design in terms of the look from the outside. So you can't see any screws on the base, you can't see any fastenings for the case. That's all internal, very similar to what we've seen on keycult boards before. And I think one of the smallest subtle details that I really like is that the curvature on the sides of the board is actually mirrored on the steel weight, and it's not a rectangle, it's actually got curves just on the edges as well. It's very difficult to see because there's no straight down top view, but if you look there, you can see that weight is curved as well, which just mirrors that design language and brings the board together from the base perspective, which I really like. So yeah,
this looks like it could be quite a winner. We just have to wait and see on some more details, obviously price, availability, how many units are going to be sold, and
yeah. I'm kind of sad that there's no EU proxy for this, because even though I'm not an ANSI user, this is something that I would love to have in my collection. I think it looks great. I think the styling is on point. I think it's it's right up my street from that perspective. So I'm kind of sad that there's no EU proxy.
Yeah, I mean, the styling on this is really interesting. I remember, the last several episodes. Excuse me, guys. How long have I been complaining that every TKL looks the same? Here's my answer.
Yeah.
And it's looking like a nice one. Really excited to check this one out.
Absolutely, yeah. I think in terms of price, I wouldn't be surprised if this was priced somewhere in the region of $500, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe even close to $6.
I'm gonna say 600 plus. I mean, with all that curvature, that's a lot of machine time. Look at all the subtle curves around everywhere on this board. There's so many of them, and obviously that seamless design is a little bit harder to get at, and the weight, obviously.
Steel.
It's steel, which is harder to machine. And you have those curves, so it's going to cost more machine time on the steel as well. So I would say 600 plus pretty easily, if not closer to 7. But obviously, we're just guessing. We don't know.
Yeah, interested. Yeah, I do want one, so I'll have to have a look and see how that comes out. But I think this is a really interesting board. I'm dead keen to take a look at it. I am slightly disappointed that it's not ISO compatible, but it is a standard TKL layout. So if the Heinebusch PCB is supported, which obviously works for boards like the Keycult, because you can pop that in there and use the daughter board, and the plate files are open. I know AIO3 is quite good with releasing plate files and things like that. There may be the opportunity for me to change that in the future. So definitely interested to see that.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Love the look of this. All right, let's move on to our next interest check, which coincidentally is also by AIO3. He's been pretty busy lately, it seems, and he wants to try to pump out some interest checks. And this one is equally as interesting as the last one, if you ask me. This is the Orbach X, which is a compact split ergonomic keyboard. So it's similar in some ways to the ErgoDox, or that particular style of split ergonomic board. And man, look at the curvature on this picture with the wrist rest. Is that not a sight to behold? It's
very, very interesting.
So beautiful. So beautiful. So this is a top mount board, 7-degree angle. The case is going to be aluminum, limited to either gray or black, most likely, with custom cut foam. The plate, polycarbonate. No other choices, which I thought was pretty interesting. He doesn't actually say the PCB is going to be QMK, but we can kind of assume that it's going to be QMK and potentially VIA as well. The wrist rests are polycarbonate. I don't know if they're included or not. I didn't quite find it in the thread, but it seems like they are, which I think is pretty cool. And as far as weight is concerned, each half of the board weighs 350 grams, so 700 grams together. With the wrist rest, it totals about 1 kilogram. So not a particularly heavy board, but then again, you don't generally need a bunch of weight for this type of experience with a split ortho kind of thing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, usually the lighter the better for this kind of thing, because you need to adjust and move around on the fly and things like that. There's a couple of things that I noticed. One is he's carrying over his screwless case design. Now, I do suspect from a couple of snippets that you can see in the Andromeda that the way he's implemented it on the Andromeda is the same as how he's implemented it on this. So if you look at the picture where the case is open, you can actually see on the left and the right there are 4 screwed holes, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, where on the side with the PCB, and you can see there's corresponding holes in the actual base as well. And what happens is you actually screw down from where the plate is. There's gaps in the plate to allow you to screw the top and the bottom half together from that perspective there. So it's a very, very clever design, very good way of implementing that. PCB then has to be cut and adjusted to support, but that's pretty cheap. One of the interesting design decisions here is that he's actually using a TRRS cable to join the 2 halves together. Now, I know that's standard for a lot of these kind of boards, but I did think that he'd probably be tempted to use USB-C or something similar, given the fact that we're moving in that kind of direction. There's boards like the DCL1, which are going to use USB-C for the production model. I think there was a split that we saw a couple of weeks ago that already used USB-C and things like that. And I think Kendo's using USB-C as well. So I am interested to see why he's going for the TRRS and not for one of the newer ports, but at least it's not SATA, right?
Yeah, Kendo actually got swapped back to TRRS. I don't remember the reason.
Oh, did it?
But
Okay.
I did remember that. But either way, TRRS is fine. I think most of us might prefer USB-C, but TRRS is still miles ahead of something like SATA, which should never be used on a keyboard to begin with. But yeah, so that's still fine, and this does look like a pretty nice board overall. I like that he's kind of pushing this seamless design, and the screwless kind of design as well.
It's nice. Yeah, this looks really good as well. I've got to be honest. I think where AO3 has changed is his design style has just got better and better and better the more he's designed and the more he's done for the community. And we're really starting to see that pay off for him big style now in terms of how attractive his designs look. And he's never done a bad looking board. I'm not trying to say that, but what I'm trying to say is you can see how he's developed, how he's refined his skills, how he's refined his design skills and all of that kind of stuff. And these boards, they just look great now. I think he's really nailed that kind of he knows what he's doing, he knows how to get it done, and he knows how to make it attractive whilst he's doing it. And I think that's a really, really useful skill that he's managed to impart on these boards. I think these look great.
Yeah, absolutely. He has a very particular, a very unique design language, a very particular style that he sticks to. And I too think it looks absolutely fabulous. And one thing I like about it is it's so obviously AIO3. You look at any board he's designed and you go, that's AIO3. And I really like being able to do that with a designer in our community. It's such a cool signature to be able to do something like that. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, these are looking glorious. Provided the pricing is okay, I actually kind of want to pick one of these up, to be totally honest with you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd be interested to see
this picture with the wrist rests and that just these clean lines and curves. That's just unbelievably beautiful to me. Like, even though this picture is kind of a potato picture, just the fact that he has a prototype there and the way it looks it's just spectacular. So,
well, you say it's a potato picture. One thing I do like about AIO3's pictures is that they're really down to earth. They're not these hyper stylized, superb pictures that have been doctored and changed in any way, shape, or form. But what they are is they're a really honest opinion of the board. They give you a really good view of what the board is, and they're really just honest is the best way I can describe AO3's photography. Stuff like this, he's never selling something that it isn't, sort of thing, if that makes sense. It's not one of these highly photoshopped, tweaked elements, whatever else software you want to run it through, photos that's been really tweaked from what the real life position is to what the selling position is, what the marketing position is. They're always really honest and really clean, and the pictures that he usually posts and stuff really make a point. They're good pictures of themselves. They
really
do show up.
I only say it's a potato pick because the lighting is really bad on this one.
Sure.
If you look at the first picture, the lighting's a decent amount better, and the board looks a lot cleaner because of that. But I mean, they're just not that high quality pictures. They are good pictures of the board itself and explaining what it is, but the pictures themselves, not the highest quality.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's kind of unimportant because it looks amazing anyways, both inside and outside of renders. So glad that he has a prototype in hand. Glad that he took a lot of pictures here to explain both inside and outside and show you exactly how everything works.
And I did read later on in read later on in the thread as well that he'd like to do this as an in-stock item rather than a group buy item as well.
Yep.
So he says, depending on demand, there is a strong chance that it may happen, and that strong chance that he would have it as a stock item, because he's, and I quote here, because I'm sick and tired from many of my recent group buys having issues one way or another. So there we go.
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome stuff. Shout out to Hui, who subbed at Tier 1 for 5 months. Thank you so much. And the Key Company, who also just subbed at Tier 1 for 5 months. So, assuming that's Jason, thank you very much, man. He asked, what did I miss? This is our second news topic of the day. The first one was the Andromeda TKL interest check, which is also by AIO3. So, we're pretty early in the news talk. Didn't miss a whole lot yet.
Not yet, no. More stuff to come.
Absolutely. So, really excited for this one. Looking forward to picking one of those up. And speaking of things I also want to pick up is this next topic, the interest check for the Jubi, which is a 60% plus layout custom keyboard by Poner. And as you can see, it's a 60% with a left-hand column macro cluster, I guess you would say, a 10-key macro cluster there, which is also why it's titled Jubi, because I believe Ju in Japanese, spelled this way, does mean 10, if I recall.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's kind of an homage to that. But this looks absolutely beautiful. So just a couple quick specs here. It is a top mount board, 6-degree angle, aluminum case, 17mm front height, so it's relatively short. One feature that I like quite a bit on this one is, though it is top mount, you can choose to mount either the plate or the PCB to the top. So if you don't want a plate, you can just mount the PCB to the top, which I think is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
However, you can have the aluminum plate with it. The plate files will be made available after the group buy, which is awesome. It's going to be using a custom PCB designed by Wilba, which they're calling the WT70A. Very fitting for this kind of theme. And of course, being designed by Wilba, it's going to be using QMK, VIA, and USB-C. It's going to use a polished steel weight. The colors are going to be black, silver, red, and potentially more. It's going to have 2 options for your top, either standard or wind keyless blockers, like you see pictured here. And the vendor is going to be Switchplate, which I thought was kind of interesting. So if you're not familiar, Switchplate is the vendor that has run both the Southpaw 65% and the Southpaw full size, both of which have admittedly been kind of nightmares of group buys. And I know because I'm in the Southpaw full size. I joined it on July, I don't remember the exact date, July of 2018. So it's been a little while, and the Southpaw 65% has actually been going on for noticeably longer than that with the same or similar issues, because the factory he uses is in theory not very good. Poner does actually point out here that though it is running through Switchplate, it will not be using the same manufacturer as the Southpaw boards. So yeah, that's a good thing. So hopefully their new manu can actually work this out pretty well, because Switchplate Switchplate is not the most reputable vendor just in the recent group buys that he has been trying to do. He has completed successfully group buys in the past, obviously, but with the way things are going, I hope the new manufacturer can really nail this one, because it's a bummer having the Southpaw boards just come out, as such an awful group buy overall, all things considered. So
yeah, no, I completely get that. I mean, the thing I would say for Poner is he knows manufacturers. I know I've worked with him on doing when we did the Equinox prototypes, and he knows a few different manufacturers in the community. He knows the ones that are successful and not. So I'm sure he will be able to have a massive input on that. And it's probably just Switchplate that'll be doing it from a storefront and a logistics perspective, because shipping things isn't easy. A couple of things I do want to say about this is that this board's been. I think the original prototype was probably over a year ago now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so I remember seeing pictures of this board a long time ago, and I'm finally glad that it has come to group buy. One of the things I absolutely love is macro columns. That's why I did the JR1, and I love macro columns on the left-hand side of the keyboard. They really, really work for my workflow, so I'm always a big fan of seeing those. The mount style is very similar. If you use the PCB mount style, is very, very similar to how the Equinox works and also how the IDB works as well. So the type and feel is going to be really, really nice from that perspective. And if you do want that more standard typing feel, you can put a plate in there and have it standard top mount as well. So instead of using PCB mount, you can use it slightly differently. So it's really interesting to see that as well. I think this looks great. I think the compatibility and layout choices on the PCB are fantastic as well. You've got all of those macro keys you can use for your programming capability. You've got a standard 60% as well. Two good choices on the bottom row, whether you want to do wing keyless or if you want to do a standard more usual bottom row with 3 1.25U keys and 6.25U spacebar, and then your 4 keys on the right hand side. You've got ISO support. You can split both shifts if you want. You can do step caps lock and you can split backspace. I can't think of anything else that's more needed on the 60%. I don't see any other reason for us to have anything other than those options these days. You know, there's on 60%. I genuinely don't see any other things that we should be including. It's pretty much perfect.
This is like the pinnacle of layout offerings, I feel like. It offers you everything that most people are going to need without anything silly like, I don't know, dedicated arrow keys on a 60%, or, you know, something 2U left shift with non-standard stagger on that row. You know, this is a great amount of options without having any bullshit in it.
Exactly, right? It gives you the clean, clear stuff that you absolutely want on the PCB, and then it's entirely up to the end user if they want to put a plate in there or not, and if they want to use a fixed plate or a non-fixed plate, then it's entirely up to the user at that point. I think that's a really, really good way of doing it, and I'm dead excited to see it. One thing that I do hope that happens is that they offer a machine version of this, like the prototype is, where you can see all the machine marks on there, because there's a really good close-up of the front bezel, that kind of flattened front edge, and the way you can just see the machine marks going in diagonal cuts across there just looks so nice. It's a very industrial sort of feel, and I very much respect that. So for people that might not understand why it looks like this, I know a lot of us probably do, but you know, we're a show for everyone. We try to include everyone. This is a non-finished piece of metal, so this is not anodized or anything. This is just a raw aluminum prototype, so that's why it looks kind of, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, you might think this is ugly or something. In which it could be portrayed as, but you know, a lot of people like this kind of raw look. I do. I love it. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to remember that's not a finished production quality. It will be anodized like most boards are, and those machine marks that you can see, those will be sanded away and tumbled away. They basically put it in like almost like a cement-like mixture and let it tumble around in that for a couple of hours, and that kind of polishes all that away. And then they'll get the sandblaster on there and really have them smooth and lovely before they anodize it. But this is just how it would come off of the CNC machine, the way these are milled. And what you can actually see, you can see the track marks as where the tool's been spinning. It's a bit like a drill bit. If you imagine drilling into a wall, it's like a drill bit that spins round, and that just cuts away the material until you're left with the final shape. And you can see those diagonal slanted bits on that front edge. You can just see where it's basically just gone and scored through and taken material away to make it have that nice shaped front profile. And on the base as well, you can see kind of like the horizontal lines where the tool's gone backwards and forwards to mill it to the final shape. I just think things like that look really nice. They're really interesting, and you know, it means you have to do less QC because you're expecting some defects there, because you're expecting to see, you know, the work that's gone into the board. But as you say, Brian, you're completely right that not everyone likes that kind of look. A lot of people don't like that look.
It's very particular. But there have been quite a few people that have been asking for stuff like that. So I wonder if he's actually going to include that as an option. That could be kind of cool.
I would like to hope so.
It would save you money on the final product, and if you do want to get it finished, you can get it finished in a different method. So let's say you don't like anodization, because anodization not always that great. Maybe you want to Cerakote it. Maybe you want to powder coat it. Like when you have a raw piece of metal like this, you can just take it to whatever shop you want and just have them do it for you in the exact way that you want. So, and it would obviously save you money from the group buy too, because then they wouldn't have to finish these units, so they can save money there. And saves you a little bit of money in the long run. So, would be a cool option.
Again, I completely agree. Again, I'm sad to see that there's no EU vendor on this one. It would be nice to have an EU vendor. You know, it does make it a lot more expensive for us to get stuff in in the UK, when it's been shipped from the manufacturer over to the US, and then it's been shipped from the US to the UK, it does make things a little bit more expensive. But I've been waiting for this board for a long time, and I think it looks great. I'm hoping that raw finish is an option, because I would absolutely love that. Yeah, I think it just I just feel like that's going to age really, really well when you get you used to use it, and it's an industrial looking board. It's something you can move around with you, and it doesn't matter if it gets fingerprints on it and stuff like that. I think it's just going to age really, really nicely, and I think it fits the look and the theme of the board as well. And big shout out to the use of the CRP Desco on there, because I think that looks amazing as well on one of the options. I think there's a few different keycap sets on it, but the Desco keycap set looks great.
Yeah, absolutely. So what the key company in chat, I'm assuming it's Jason, is saying, Jay, you're an EU vendor now. Why don't you proxy it?
I am. I can't use the show to shill myself, though. I feel really, really bad doing that. Yes, I do have prototypists. I would love to be a vendor for stuff like this, but I'm not going to shill my own business propositions on.
Oh, I'm not saying on the show. I'm just saying, outside of the show, as a vendor, you could message him and be like, hey, I will be the vendor here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't say that I was going to do that on the show. That would be entirely no. But yeah. So I get your point, Rise. Thank you very much. But I'd feel awful shilling that sort of stuff on the show.
Oh, is it Rise on that account?
I think it is. I'm sure he said it was Rise earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My bad. I must have missed it. Anyways, that's the upcoming Juby by Poner, and darn, is it looking pretty good. They're aiming for a $400 to $500 price point. That's pretty expected for this kind of thing, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a known designer. Poner's a really good guy in the community. His designs have been seen to work well in the past. I think that's a fine price. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a custom PCB. It's a WoB PCB. It's got two mounting options. Both are quite unique. So the PCB mounting option is quite unique. Sorry. I think it's very cleverly designed. I think the pricing at $500 would be fine. I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think at $5 it would be a little high, in my opinion. $4 would seem pretty reasonable to me. $5 seems maybe a little high.
I think if you chucked a little,
it's a nice board.
I think you're probably not far off. You're probably not wrong, Brian. I think if you chucked, maybe another chunk of brass in there and maybe a gasket mount option, then yeah,
then 500 makes total sense. Yeah. Yeah. Regardless, I think this looks pretty good. Where are you going to be getting one of these?
I absolutely want one of these. Poner knows from the first day he released those pictures that I wanted to buy that particular prototype of him, and he said no chance. And I would absolutely love one of these. So, but I definitely want it in that raw finish. I think so. I'll have to have a chat with Poner and see what I can do to arrange one, because I really love this board, and I've been waiting a long time for it.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our next keyboard interest check. This is the Canvas. A 65% with left-hand numpad, which is pretty interesting. It's going to use a 7-degree angle, a USB-C PCB. It's going to have hot swap sockets, and the most interesting thing about it is actually going to be the price. So he's really aiming to keep it under $150. So this is actually going to be, if he does get 25 or more people to join, he should be able to hit this target price of $137 plus shipping. That's USD, I believe. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's not a terribly complex board. It's not a super fancy top-end custom with a top mount and high-profile design. But this is something certainly more the budget region. If you look around the edges, something that may get pointed out to you is that it kind of reminds me, at least, of the White Fox design, where you kind of have this bottom tray. Try to find the right pictures here. You have this bottom tray, and then you kind of have the top plate, where the plate on the edges just rests along the top and screws in. So it's only screwed in around the edges. If you had another top piece in this, you'd probably call it sandwich mount. So I'm just going to call it bottom mount for now. So it kind of just rests in there. Yeah. Very reminiscent of that, but it's kind of cool too. Then he kind of has. I don't know. He's calling it the Canvas, which I thought, when I first looked at it, I was like, are you going to be able to just put your own designs on the bottom? Because that'd be pretty cool. Just have, like, your own designs and stuff etched in or whatever. But I'm not sure. He doesn't actually mention it. You might just get this kind of design on the bottom. But I don't know. It's kind of a nice budget board for under $150.
Yeah, I mean, it's low profile, which will put a lot of people off, but there is kind of a subset of the community that wants kind of things in that budget area. So, guys, please don't be turned off by that. A lot of people do like low profile boards. You know, we see a lot of the master up boards. There's been the two recent ones from Caps Unlocked that were low profile that have sold quite well as well. So there is an element of the hobby that does like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can see why the price is so cheap, because you say, Brian, it's effectively one piece of a case and a plate. You've got to imagine that most keyboards have two parts at the very least. They've got a top and a bottom, plus a plate and a PCB. This is, if I remember rightly, made from the open source White Fox files as well. So you were right, Brian. It is very similar to White Fox. I think it's just been taken the original White Fox files and then tweaked, amended them to come up with this design. It's also using, just a completely flat bottom piece. It's dead easy to machine. It's dead easy to mill. There's nothing complex in terms of milling this. Huge radiuses on the corners, all of that kind of stuff. There's no angle to it. It's completely flat. If you want an angle, you have to use feet with pre-drilled holes. So it's using the old style feet that we used to see on the OTD boards and things like that historically. I think it's, for the price, it's fine. It's absolutely fine for the price. It's a great entry level board. It's it's a good Southpaw entry if you want to try Southpaw if you've never tried it before and have that kind of functionality to one side. I think I'd agree with you, Brian. I think I would call it bottom mount, just because there is no top piece to sandwich it in place. So it's going to have a little bit of feeling on the return, which wouldn't be there if it was sandwiched in between another top piece of the case. But yeah, I think this is absolutely fine. Hot swap makes it dead easy for beginners and newcomers, so no worries from that perspective. It's a nice, easy board to put together, and it could be a great first build for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's no other reason to buy this board, buy it for the sake of it saying International Thick Boy on the PCB, which I just love. I just absolutely love it. One thing I do love a lot about this interest check, though, and I understand why most people don't do this, but it is a joy to see this. He has a price breakdown of how much each part costs and how that makes sense in total to the cost of the board. So the idea here, presumably, I assume he's probably taking little to zero profit on this particular buy, which is part of the reason why it's also so cheap. But he just has that price breakdown of how much literally every single part of the kit costs and how they got to that total. So I understand why most people don't do that, but it is pretty awesome to see that, to be totally honest.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of thoughts on this. So one of my first thoughts is that if you're not taking any profit from it, there's no margin in case things go wrong. And profit, people can see profit as a good thing or a bad thing, but it's needed to keep vendors in business. If vendors didn't make profit, they wouldn't be in business. So it's needed from that perspective. But the other thing it allows vendors to do is, if there's an issue, they've got a reserve set of funds that they can then use to fix that issue, because that's what the risk is there. That's why vendors take a profit, because they're taking risk on their investments. If this is run without any profit and something goes wrong, where do the funds come from to fix that problem? That's my only kind of concern when you do see these price breakdowns and there's no risk costs. There's no ninth bullet point that says I've added 10% to the price for risk of anything going wrong, and if nothing goes wrong, then that's my profit that I'll walk away with and keep. There's nothing wrong with declaring that whatsoever, and it does worry me that might not have been taken into consideration as part of the group buy, because it's quite possible that he buys he gets 20 people entered, or whatever the numbers are, say 20 people for ease of math, and 10% of the boards don't work for whatever reason. They're milled wrong or something like that, or the anodization isn't up to scratch, and then that's two cases that he needs to then pay to redo, which is $130 give or take. Where does that money then come from? He's not got any buffer to kind of fund it. That's the worry I have there.
Unless it's one of those situations where he himself is actually quite wealthy and he can actually support something like that if things go wrong. But if that's not the case, which is probably more accurate, because most people don't have a ton of money to throw around, then yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no kind of reserve to remake any parts or to fix anything. It's kind of what you're dealt with, and that's the other side to running things at cost, and that's the side that is very unfortunate sometimes. All right.
Yeah.
But could be a pretty interesting keyboard for the entry level. If you like that particular design, you like low profile, and now you want to try something Southpaw, it's going to be inexpensive. So
Yeah, it's definitely easy to get into. I do think it's not quite clear on this. I'm not sure if you have to, or if he's going to do the soldering here as well, because I think that the KL hot swap sockets aren't part of the board, but it does say PCB assembly is approximately $30. So I'm not sure if he's actually paying a different factory to do that, or if he's doing it manually himself, or if he's expecting buyers to do it. I'm not quite sure. So
I believe, at least when I read through this, the kind of vibe that I got from it is the PCB itself is fully pre-soldered except for the KL hot swap sockets, which you might have to solder yourself. And if you look at this picture here, you can totally tell that these are hand soldered just by how how different the joints vary and all this residual flux that you can see. This was obviously not professionally done at the manufacturing level. This was done by hand.
For sure, yeah. I just don't know if it means that he's going to do all of the soldering for the boards, or if the end user is going to be done. That's not clear. So I would encourage the runner of this, which is called Umiao, to try and make that clear.
He says in the thread that the KL hot swap sockets are the only piece that will need to be soldered onto the board once it's received. I don't know if that means received by him or received by the end user. So that's I'm assuming end user, but that could be clarified better. Yes, absolutely. All right, so there you go. Let's move on to something that is not an interest check. Let's move on to something that's actually in group buy format. So we missed this last week, so I'm bringing it up this week because the group buy is still open. And, that's how things go. So this is a group buy for the Lynx L50, which is I suppose you'd call it a 50% keyboard. And this is a pretty interesting little guy. So 7-degree angle, 18.5mm front height, which is pretty average. It's going to be top mounted via either plate or PCB, your choice. So which is pretty awesome. So it's just like the Juby that we talked about just a couple of moments ago. So if you want top mount, just the PCB, you can do that. If you want a plate, you can do that. I love that we're seeing more of that functionality. I think that's an amazing feature that a lot more boards could have. Another thing that's really unique to this board is it supports both MX-style switches and SMK-style switches, which is something we don't normally see very often. We see often PCBs will support MX and ALPS, but SMK is something that we don't really see very often. So SMK switches, if you're not familiar, are kind of more of like a subset of ALPS in a way that kind of use the same stem as MX, so you can inevitably use the same caps, but it does have a little bit different of a footprint versus some other switches. So pretty interesting there. If you're into SMK switches, this could be a good board for you. PCB is going to feature QMK and USB-C. You're going to have your choice of top between HHKB, Win keyless, or standard. And there's going to be extra options and brass options available if you'd prefer something like a brass plate, for instance. And the plate and PCB files both to be released after the group buy concludes, which is always nice to see. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think it looks all right. In terms of the price, it's $285 for the base kit, which you described there, which doesn't include shipping or PayPal fees, so they're going to bump the price up a little bit. So I imagine it's going to be somewhere in the region of $350 all told, depending on where you are in the world, without any extras. I think there's plenty of choices for this. I like the way that the PCB is mounted. I think that makes a lot of sense for these little boards, like the Equinox we talked about before, because I think that's really good. It's good, again, that we've already seen prototypes for this. I know this is in group buy rather than interest check, but I think pretty sure that when we saw the interest check that there were already prototypes quite early on in that process as well. So
yeah. Well, some of these pictures are obviously real boards. Like this is a prototype. This is not. There's no way this is a render.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a real board. I think they actually got them in the interest check phase though as well, so it's really good to see. I'm a big fan of seeing boards at interest check and having prototypes at interest check, like the Orbit from AIO3 that we looked at earlier on. It's in interest check, but
or the
already
Jubi
got
from
prototype.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Much better way of doing it, I think. It really helps people to visualize what they're getting, to see what they're getting, and all of that kind of thing. Really like that. I think, so in terms of the mountain style, I think that's great. In terms of the look, I think it looks okay. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of the hugely rounded corners that we see on this. They are quite girthy, the rounded corners on this. It reminds me a lot of the Kuba checkboard. What was that called?
Pearl.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Pearl.
That's what I thought when I first saw this too.
Top down view. Yeah. But
well,
I don't think that's
even the sides. The sides are actually kind of reminiscent of a Pearl too, to be totally honest with you. Slightly. But yeah, the rounded corners really kind of give it away too. But regardless, I think it's a really nice looking board. It seems like it'll be a pretty premium sub 60% option.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I think it looks fine. I'm not sure if it's something I'd pick up. I've already got boards that fill this slot for me personally, but I think if I didn't have those, it's definitely on my to-buy list. I think it looks good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy for it.
Yeah, so the group buy is open until, I believe, the end of January, if I recall. Yep, end of January, so pretty lengthy group buy, well over a month.
December 21st to January the 31st. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how many are sold, because it says I think it's limited to 50 kits, but the form's still open when you click on the form. So I'm surprised that that price, $285 plus shipping and fees, that hasn't actually sold 50 units already.
Yeah, the layout is pretty friendly, all things considered. Not always the easiest to get your hands on a 1.75 enter or a 1.25 tab, but obviously some 40 support kits out there do have it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think it looks good. Yeah.
Row 2 escape and 1U row 2 backspace also, I guess. So, but I mean, it's still a pretty logical layout, all things considered. This is one of those 40% boards I feel like I could use. Which is tough, because usually I don't go below 60%. Right? So yeah, but I think it's lovely.
Wait till you see my J series 40%.
Your J series 40% is not going to make any sense to me, because it's going to have a huge bezel and a pen rail, and I think it's going to take up more space than a 40% needs to take up.
Well, we'll talk about that later on anyway.
I can rag on you later. It's no big deal. We can wait.
It's the same width as a pearl, but it's the depth is the same as a 60%. So yeah.
Oh, Nathan in chat is also saying, don't forget the 7U spacebar. Heck yes, 7U spacebar on a 40%. That's so stupid. Sign me up.
Yeah, that's what I've done on the J0.4 as well. I literally designed it around that 7U spacebar. But yeah, it's absolutely right.
Brilliant. I mean, it's so stupid functionally. Like, it's so dumb. You should never put a 7U spacebar on a 40% board, but I love it. I sure do love it.
No, you should. I don't see why you shouldn't do it. I mean, like.
I don't. The way I've always seen 40% is you want to fit as many keys as you can within the desired amount of space. Because when 40%'s launched, the idea was that it's it's light, it's portable, it's affordable, and it gives you a lot of functionality for how small it is. And the more space you take up with larger keys or blockers or whatever, that's less functionality that you could be getting otherwise out of the same exact footprint.
See, I would disagree with you slightly on that. I don't think that functionality is purely driven by the number of keys that you have. I think functionality is driven by the software that's running the board as well, so layers and everything else. So my view for when I was designing the 40% and the layouts for that is start with what's really important to me, which is a standard size spacebar, and put a 7U spacebar in there, and then what does it look like from that? I genuinely, and the second consideration I had for designing it was, how do I make it so that it's compatible with the majority of GMK and other style base kits that are out there? Because the last thing I would want to do is design a board that accommodated every 40% style user, but then didn't have any keys available for it, or even keys that fit in those particular slots. And there was the same thing done with the TMO50 V2 or round 2. It was kind of tweaked slightly to try and fit what is a standard GMK base kit going to cover. So I think that to say the volume of keys is the thing that drives the functionality of a board isn't necessarily always true.
Okay. You know what? Let's debate this a little bit more. So, so when I say functionality, I don't mean the board can accomplish something per se. Like, let's say, obviously, you compare this with a 60% board, which has, a dedicated number row. So you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. It's, generally speaking, it's always going to be faster and easier to hit one key than a multitude of keys, right? As long as you, within reason, as long as you're not stretching, all the way across your desk and reaching for, it's not a Hyper 7, obviously. But which is a rather functional keyboard by my standards. but obviously that's going to really depend on the person. So the functionality can be dictated by the person, in my opinion. Obviously, some people are going to be faster on something like this than they are on a 60% or a TKL, just because they're maybe more used to 40s. But generally speaking, I do think it's faster to just hit one dedicated key than it is to go to your function key and then you have to hit maybe your second function key and then hit one key to get the same exact functionality. Like hitting 2 or 3 keys to get the same functionality that you would normally get from one key. So it's not that I don't think it's doable. It's that I think that within a specific amount of space, which is very important to this scenario, having dedicated keys for specific things is more functional than having to hit 2 or more keys to get the same thing.
I feel like you're describing usability rather than functionality. There is my take on it, and I think anyone who's buying this kind of board, they're already appreciative of the fact that they're going to lose a number of keys because to get this style of board, and using anything that's sub 60% is an exercise in reduction. Effectively, it's a what can I do without on immediacy, and what can I do with taking a slight bit longer second to get there. For example, numbers, as you used, is a great example. If you don't use numbers very often, if you're just typing words in a document and that's what you do most of the time, then you need your alphas and your punctuation, and that's kind of what you need. You don't need necessarily a num row, because you can put that on a layer and it can take you a little bit longer to do that. So I think you're very much describing usability rather than functionality. That would be my take on it. So from a usability perspective, I get that, but anything is going to be anyone who's using a 40%, 50%, or anything sub 60 is going to have to go through that exercise of reductionism. Effectively, what is the bare minimum that you can do with, and then you add everything else in on a layer or 2 layers or whatever going forward. But I think it's absolutely the right thing to do, to design it around what you feel as a designer is the right layout for you, and putting a 7U spacebar in there is. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's absolutely the right way to go. I did exactly the same, so I could put my wing keyless blockers in there. Yeah, blockers on a 40%. It's perfectly fine to do. And I think that we should allow form sometimes to take place over function, and the fact that we have controllable software that can give us that function back, whether it's in the same way or a different way, whether you need to use layers or additional key presses or holding keys or tapping keys to change layers or whatever that is. One key press isn't going to make or break someone's typing speed, is my take on it.
Sure, that's totally fair. You're right, I am definitely talking about usability, but to me, usability and functionality in this scenario are interchangeable. Which is why I still stand by my decision that using the exact same footprint, having more keys in that footprint, is more functional. Which is why I still believe the Planck to be the most functional 40% layout to ever exist, even though I don't use it.
I would argue it's not the most usable 40% layout. So, yeah,
it can do the most amount of things with the exact same footprint versus something that has a staggered layout doing the exact same footprint because it has more keys. It can do more things more conveniently with more keys. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be better for everyone, because, like you mentioned, obviously, personal preference and your own usability is going to be, it's going to differ wildly, because obviously people like you and me don't really use this type of thing. But a lot of people in the community do, and they can't really use stuff like 60% and 75% of TKLs like we generally use. So that's a debate for another time, I suppose. But
yeah, I think my final thought on it is that people don't buy these boards without already realizing what the drawbacks to them are. They buy these boards because they either fit their workflow or they like the style or whatever it is. And going by that particular argument, my view is that people who are going to buy this board know what they're buying, and they're going to be comfortable that that's going to work for them. And irrespective of what people's views are, because we've got 2 different views on this, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. It's very much a subjective view here. There's no objective overall one about what's right or wrong. I suspect my thinking is probably more in line with the 40s Discord and the 40s people that are out there than what yours is. But
yeah, well, I mean,
neither of us are right or wrong. It's more of a case of anyone who's going to buy this board has already accepted what those limitations are before they click on the buy perspective, and that's what is important.
Yeah.
Slippery Pete saying, by that rationale,
Yeah.
instead of using sequence, why don't you use a boardwalk layout?
For one very good reason, and actually Jay already mentioned this in his part of the debate, because sometimes it's okay to have form over function, and I'm okay with that. I know that when I use, and this is actually funny that Slippery Pete brought it up because I'm going to show off one of his boards that I just recently built. This is a 60% keyboard. Is this the most functional 60% keyboard? No, it's not. But this is the layout I like to use. I'm not going to claim it's the most functional. I'm not going to claim I use the most functional stuff. I use the stuff that I like, and that's what I hope other people do as well. But that doesn't stop it from being less functional or more functional than other products. Because it's okay to be able to differentiate things in your head, whether you like them or not.
Sure. Either way, I think we both agree that designing a board around your personal characteristics is an absolutely fine thing to do. And if it was up to me, I would do a 40% with a 12U spacebar.
12, absolutely. I cannot wait to see the 12U spacebar option on the J40. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think I can with the wing keyless blockers. I think, yeah, maybe I'll have to have a look at that.
Regardless, debate over. Back to the Lynx L50. The group buy is open until the end of this month, January, so you still have a lot of time to get on it. $285 base price before shipping and PayPal fees. So like Jay mentioned earlier, you're probably looking at the ballpark of around $350 depending on where you are in the world, but it is a pretty decent looking little board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think someone mentioned in chat, sorry, I've forgotten who it was, they said that this has hit the 50 limit, but it's now being extended beyond that, so it's open to whatever it sells now, I think, or some words to that effect. So if you do want to jump on this, now would be the time. Don't leave it too long. Yeah, take a look at it, guys.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next up is something I've actually been nerding over for a little while now, in secret. We talked about the interest check a few weeks back on the show. This is the group buy for the Atom 68 aluminum. And if you're completely unfamiliar with what that is, so the Atom 68 is a OEM keyboard by a company called NIS. And it is a electrocapacitive keyboard, so it doesn't use MX switches. It's not a cherry board by any stretch of the imagination. And it's a little bit more in tune with something like Topra, that particular technology. It doesn't feel exactly the same, it doesn't sound exactly the same, but it is very similar in terms of the technology used. As you can see in these kind of breakdowns here, just like Topra, it has a housing, a slider, a spring, and domes that go over the springs. And once you press down the slider through the housing, it presses down on the dome, collapses the spring, hits the PCB, and that's how you get your capacitance, and that's how it activates your key switch. So we very, very, very rarely get custom Topra or custom Topra-esque stuff, custom electrocapacitive stuff in the community, and this one has me fairly excited. So let me go through a couple specs here for you real quick. Well, actually, there's not that many specs to talk about, but I'm going to go to the listing. Well, they don't have a bunch of stuff listed, unfortunately, but they do have the product page open because this is open now. And we could take a look at a couple of the things they have on options. So for $240, that's going to get you your case. That's just your case. So this is not the cheapest keyboard setup in the world, let's be honest here. Colors, they have anodized silver, anodized black, anodized gray, and E-white, which will cost you an additional $40 premium. So that is just for the case. Now, if you go over to the plate section, you do have a few more options here. So you have aluminum silver anodized black aluminum, anodized gray aluminum, E-white aluminum, and then brass gold PVD. Now if you take a look at this box under here, you have two different options. You have an MX option, so this board can actually support MX switches. So if you like the way it looks, but you want to use, your Cherry, your Gateron, your Kale switches, what have you, they do have an option for that, and that's going to start around $305 or so after you buy the case, the plate, and the PCB, all available here. But let's say you want the electrocapacitive version, which is, let's be honest, the only reason why this is really that interesting. You can choose the electrocapacitive option there as well. It's the same cost, so it's about $20 for a plate. You move over to the PCB options. Here things get a little bit more complicated. So starting at $60 for the electrocapacitive bundle, that gets you no backlighting and no Bluetooth. But you do have options for both Bluetooth and backlighting if you so desire, but those will be a little bit more expensive. As you can see, this one here with the RGB and the Bluetooth dual mode is $115. That's not a cheap PCB on its own. So you can do that, and then there's also bundles to get all the other parts you need. So let's say you don't already have the Atom 68 keyboard, which you might, and in which case if you do, then you can just harvest all those parts over to the aluminum case, and everything's going to be a little bit cheaper for you. It's only going to be about, I don't know, $260 total. But if you don't have the Atom 68, you can pick up the all the parts with the bundles here. This one has the sliders with the silencing rings, the housings, the springs. They sell rubber dome sheets here, only about $10 for those, and the other bundle's about 30. So if you're looking to build this up from scratch with the electrocapacitive build, it's going to be about $360, which is certainly not cheap, but not terribly expensive when you consider all the things that went into it. There's a lot of design that went into this, and I'm actually really, really, really excited for this, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it does look really, really interesting. I've never tried one of these boards still. I know you have, Brian, and I'm going to try and try one at a meetup soon. So someone's promised to bring one to the next UK meetup so I can have a try. Do you think that's a good price for this board and this custom kind of kit overall?
No, probably not. But I think it's interesting enough to where I'm probably going to try to get one, just because, like I mentioned before, how much custom Topra or custom electrocapacitive stuff do we have in this community? Almost none.
Very little. Yeah,
very little at best. So I'm always really interested to see like what kind of comes out with this. Like, remember that Rama HHKB that he was designing for years and years and years and years that still hasn't hit the market? Yep. It's really difficult to kind of work around that stuff, but because it's NIS and everything's coming directly from NIS, they already have all that stuff and all the design files and everything. They can just put stuff together and just kind of make their own bundles. I think because they're able to do that, this could be really, really cool.
I do think one of the shortcomings of this group buy is it's not clear. Until you explained it on stream just then, it wasn't clear to me what parts I would need to buy depending on what I already had. Just from having a look at this web page, it wasn't particularly clear what I needed to pick up. Yeah. So I do think they're missing a trick here, and that they should probably be selling as bundles. So they should probably do like an MX version and an EC version, and then you can change the options within there, whether you wanted the PVD plate or whatever else it was that the choices were in there. I think that they're probably doing it the wrong way around, and then you have individual listings like these on top. I do think that the right way to have done this would have been to have had some bundles already pre-built, because I did look at this before the show and I was like, I don't really know these boards. I don't really know what needs.
It's a little daunting,
and without me spending 20 minutes reading through or waiting for you to explain it to me, I wouldn't have known what I needed to pick up. So I do think that might hurt and impact sales to begin with as well, because I'd be tempted to look at this and then just probably click off it because I just wouldn't know what to get and which bits I needed.
It's a little daunting. You're right. I mean, it's. If you've never, especially if you've never taken apart an electrocapacitive keyboard before, or you've never seen a guide on how to do it or whatever, you might not understand what all of these parts are. So it can be pretty tough. But I mean, here I'll try to break it down really easily for you guys. So this is just the case. If you want to buy the case, then you just buy the case, pick your color. This is just the plate. You pick your version, MX or EC, then you pick whatever color you want. That's what you need. Then here, the bundle's pretty easy. It says PCB bundle. Then it has what features you want. But obviously, like I mentioned before, you're going to need the capacitive switch bundle, this one right here, if you don't already have an Atom 68 that you're transplanting. And that comes with the sliders, the silencer rings, the housings, and the springs. Which is like all the things that you actually need, aside from the PCB, of course, and the rubber sheet, which is both listed here. You can't see this because OBS, for whatever reason, doesn't pick it up, but they do have the dome sheets on here as well, and you can choose which weighting that you want there, and then that'll get you everything. It is worth noting that these do also work with BKE Redux domes and authentic, genuine Topra domes. So if you have any of those laying around, this will work. It does take a little fiddling to make sure everything's perfectly straight and correct, they say, but apparently they are functional within the board. So that's kind of a cool feature as well.
Cool. Good to know. Good to know.
Yep. Good stuff.
Just flicking over to the stylings, what do you think to the styling of it? I think it looks okay personally. I like the chamfer on the edges. I'm not a fan of that front badge though. I don't know how you feel about the actual design overall.
I'm not in love with it. The styling's okay. It's very reminiscent of like an M65A. For me,
exactly, yeah.
For me, what it looks like didn't really matter. It's just the sake of NIS being able to sell this entirely as like a kit and having it be pretty much a truly custom electrocapacitive board experience, which no one really has. I mean, Norbauer stuff, sure. It's not quite as intricate as this, though, because this is a little bit more custom than just taking out the plate PCB assembly from your real force and putting it in a Normaforce, for example. Nothing against Norbauer and his products, because they're great. I own one. It's amazing. But it is a very different concept than a full custom Topri experience.
Sure. And last question on the Starlings. What happens to the little nubbin that we saw on the side when we talked about this during the intro check? So I don't know if you remember, Brian, but when we talked about it before, there was a little, almost like a screw port on the side. That seems to be missing on the renders, but it is there on the one image of the board still, which is the same image as what we saw in the intro check. I don't know if that means that it's not going to be there as part of the group buy, or if it's still going to be there as part of this board. And I'm still not quite sure I'm even clear on what that actually is.
I'm not sure either. I do see it in this picture here, like you pointed out. Yeah. And this is a picture, right? This is not actually a render. Yeah, there's a lot of
That's
wear.
The picture, yeah.
There's a lot of wear around this, so it's definitely not a render. But I'm not really sure what that is. That's a good question.
Because it's not there on any of the renders, which is the interesting part.
It's true. Interesting.
Like any of the renders, it doesn't show on there.
No, I found it is in the renders. It's just...
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but it's only on the left side of the keyboard, not on the right. So you have to look at the bottom piece of each of the renders.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of hard to see on some of the colors, but it is still technically there.
Yeah, I can see it on the dark one now. You mentioned it on the dark black case. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I thought it'd gone when I was looking at the renders. Yeah, okay. Still not quite sure what that's for.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, because there's nothing on the PCB images as far as I can see that it could be. Yeah, interesting. Okay, well,
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's... I don't know. Maybe it'll make... I'm probably going to try to buy one of these, so maybe I can figure it out once I actually have one.
Yeah, you can tell us what it's actually for. Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, looking forward to this one.
Should we move away from keyboards now and start talking about some key sets?
Some key sets. I think we can probably do that. Not a whole lot of key sets this week, actually. Only 2 on our topics list, which I thought was kind of
interesting,
kind of strange. But I guess with Christmas, the New Year, not a lot of designers are free enough to put out a bunch of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's taking a break. So this is an interest check for memories, and I say just memories because we have no idea on the manufacturer yet. He doesn't have a factory planned yet, but he does plan on running it running it in PBT. So this could be a good opportunity for him to go over to the Key Company. Remember, I think we talked about it last week. The Key Company is looking for more designers, more key set designers to be willing to work with Infinikey, which is a PBT manufacturer, obviously, that the Key Company has been using. And this could be a good decision for that. But regardless, let's take a look at some renders here. It kind of reminds me a little bit of either Godspeed or Pegasus. Is it Pegasus or Pegaso? The other one that Mito ran, which kind of has the light creamy alphas of Godspeed with the kind of almost sky blue, I guess, mods. Pegaso is a little bit more like that, but this is kind of similar. What do you feel about it?
Yeah, I kind of like the pastel colours. I'm always a big fan of that. What does throw me though is the kitting for this. So
it's not final. It's not final. He says it will change. So
it's not final. It will change. But interestingly, it does say GMK kitting is here.
True.
But it's effectively 2 sets in one. We've got kind of like a teal cyan color that very reminiscent of Hyperfuse Origins with some purple accents. That whole kind of mint kit, as it's called, and then you've got the cotton candy kit as well, which is effectively it's to me this is 2 key sets, right? It's not one, it's 2 key sets.
Oh yeah, but that's how that's how the Key Company have been doing the Infinity stuff anyways, by releasing 2 to 4 base kits at a time.
Sure, yeah, I agree. I'm just not sure if either of these work for me. It does feel very similar to other things we've said. Like you mentioned, we've seen Godspeed run before. We've seen Pegaso quite recently, which is also in Cherry Profile. The Mint kit does very much remind me of some of the key sets that we've seen run before. Hyperfuse Origins is one that jumps out to me straight away. having said that, in terms of the kits themselves, if this was going to be a standardized GMK base kit, it looks like a fully featured GMK base kit or standard Infinity base kit. Interestingly, that you can buy the kits might have just a mods section on their own, rather than just having a full set. So you might, but then there's only one alpha set, which is the Japan kit. I feel like this might have been done a little bit better if you laid it out as alphas, mint mods kit, cotton candy mods kit, and then Japan kit and space kit. I think it just doesn't feel like it flows quite well at the minute.
I feel like we can't really talk about the kitting when it's not final anyways. I mean,
sure.
If he were like, here is my proposed kitting, what would you guys like to see changed? That's one thing. But he says kit will probably be changed. So presumably this is nowhere close to final, is what I'm going to guess.
I just feel like this might be too early in the designer's thinking before it should have been an IC. An IC for me shouldn't be something that's half a brained idea. It should be something that you've actually thought about, something that you've got an approach to, something that you've made some decisions already on, something that you're really clear about what you want to or don't want to support. And then go from there based on what the community suggests. But you should have a really strong starting point for that and something that you've actually put some thought and effort into. And I don't want to say that no effort's gone into this, but this just seems to be very much a case of, let's put everything down and then change it later on. And I feel like that might be a bit of a disingenuous way of approaching an interest check.
I completely agree. As far as interest checks go, this is a very weak interest check. Hot take, he should lighten the colors on the alpha keys. And that way, it'll look very similar to DSA Infinity. Then, hold on, that's step one of the process. Step two is you go to the key company and you run the set through Infinity. That way you can call it Infinity Infinity. How do you like that, Jay?
I mean, that's an option.
There you go. There's my suggestion.
I think the hot take on the color change is probably actually fairly valid. I think I would definitely agree with that. I want to see more information. I don't know what the designers approach to this is. I don't know what the direction of travel is. I'm not quite sure where they're heading to, and that is, it feels like they've got a plan to do an interest check, but they haven't really thought about how that's going to progress from there, and that just feels like it's lacking at the minute.
Yeah, even the theme is a little lacking. Look at the sentence. I have always wanted to relive my favorite childhood memories. With memories, I want to bring some of those back. So
his childhood memories are mints and cotton candy.
Cotton candy. He ate a lot of cotton candy, apparently. I don't know.
He apparently did that in Japan as well, right? With the Japan kit.
Yeah. Let's see an upgraded interest check here, Nova KB. I believe in you. Give us the theme is fine, but maybe elaborate a little bit. Explain some of these childhood memories. Like, get us involved in your thought process here.
Show us the direction of travel.
Some more renders. Give us some proposed kit breakdowns. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be final, but give us some proposed kit breakdowns. A lot of people can help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at other interest checks and things like that. Give us a bit of a plan on there. Give us a list of things you've got to do and want to do, and a bit of a next steps kind of section to the interest check. That always helps to give people confidence as well. I just feel like confidence will lack on this because there's not enough direction and there's not enough. It doesn't feel quite as controlled as it should be for an interest check for me.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And with that, let's move on to our other key set topic, which is by Harlequin, I believe is how you pronounce that. This is GMK White on Black 40s/ortho Micons mod kit. So this is for people that maybe haven't been able to use their GMK White on Black on a 40s or ortho layout, and you also want the Micon symbols. So I'm seeing a little bit more of these lately. These were originally designed by Mito, if I'm not mistaken, and now some other people are using them. These feature the standard colors for GMK White on Black, which is CR for the black and WS1 for the white. So very accessible there. What do you think about this?
I mean, personally, I've never been a fan of Micons, so I wouldn't want to use them personally. that make it a no-go for me. But I do like the fact that we're seeing a lot of broken down mod kits effectively these days, so you can use them to supplement other keycap sets that you might already have to give you coverage for different boards. So we've seen things like missing keys, we've seen Hiragana Alpha kits, we've seen other mod key kits. I think that's really good to see. So I'm absolutely happy and really excited to see that kits like this are going to be considered and potentially go into to group buy. What I am, as I say, the slight disappointment for me is that it's Micons. If this had been standard Cherry Legends, but for a 40s kit, I would have been all over it. That would have been absolutely right up my street, and I would still like to see someone do that. But
is there not a white on black 40s kit? I thought one of them ran like a normal one.
I can't recall if it did or not. I think it depends on which base kit as well you've got. If you've got the originative white on black keycap set, there's more 40 support in that than there is in the drop version that ran a few months ago. So I think it really depends on what you buy. But I do want to see a standard Cherry Legend 40s kit that's probably something very similar to this in terms of compatibility. That would really work for me. But I think a lot of people do like Micons. I think I'm quite very much in the minority when it comes to Micons. I think across the community, most
interesting. What do you guys think in chat? Do you guys like the Micons? Yes, no. Looks awful, looks amazing. How do you guys feel? I'm kind of curious on this too, because I don't really care for him either. It's kind of fun, but it's definitely not for me.
Yeah, I think we're very much in the minority. I think most of the community really like it.
Interesting.
Or it certainly seems that way when it ever gets put in an interest check. People are like, yay for Micons, or certainly see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like chat's fairly split. Maybe a little bit more closer to appreciating the Micons. Osiris with a hard pass. Yeah, not a fan of the Micons. Wow. All right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, people are a little split on this. I mean, I can see why people might appreciate it. It's kind of fun. It's different. It's refreshing, but it's also a little silly.
Do you know what the big problem I have with it is? I don't understand how the Micon Legends translate to what the actual keycap is. A lot of the time, my head doesn't look at that particular keycap. Like shift makes sense. It's kind of like an arrow pointing upwards with an underscore. I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Control Alt keys, they make no sense to me. The Win key makes no sense what that particular one is. The changes for backspace, and then I kind of don't get why the keys have the symbols they have on them as well. I think that's part of my problem with Micons. It doesn't translate directly for me. Some of them do. Tab does and Shift does. They work really well. I get those. Other keys, not so much.
Yeah.
Osiris agreeing. He said that's why they're hard pass from him as well. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. Absolutely good point. Yeah. So there are a couple known issues with this particular render, but he is aware of them. He is fixing them. Vendors, mykeyboard.eu for the EU, and everywhere else is pending. So there you go. But if you're a fan of 40s and or ortho, and you want some Micons for your GMK white on black, here's your option. There you go.
Absolutely. There you go. Yeah, it's out there.
Yep, definitely. All right. Moving away from keycaps. Yeah, that was it. That was it on keycaps, from what I found.
Very short.
Yeah, and I probably could have just not added the memories one, because usually I don't add usually add low effort interest checks, but we were just so lacking on key set news this week. I was like, okay, I guess we're adding it. But in other news, Gondolindrim, who is a lovely Brazilian PC designer and a wonderful human being, has opened up officially PCB design services. So I'm not going to read through all of this stuff. I already read through it once, but I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it. But yeah, effectively, he is opening up PCB design services. He does a lot of different things, whether you want something made from scratch or otherwise. He has a list of all the things he's capable of and the things that he works with, and it's a very in-depth, detailed interest check thread. So maybe if you're a designer out there that doesn't know a thing or two about PCBs, but you want some designed for your particular new keyboard that you're trying to work on and launch, then consider Gondolindrim. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, I think there's just a couple of things to consider. So I don't think it's any secret that I've worked with Gondolindrim on the Doddle 60, which is kind of like an ISO open source kind of 60% PCB, which I do plan on stocking as well in the near future. And he's been a pleasure to work with. He's always open with feedback. He's clearly intelligent. He knows what he's talking about. He's very quick to act on feedback and suggestions and things like that as well. So. Yeah, I can't recommend them enough. The prices that he's offering are they're incredibly competitive when you consider some of the other prices in the community. His lead times are a little bit longer purely because he's in Brazil, and the import and customs in Brazil is very, very difficult to get products through.
Absolutely brutal.
Not only from a cost perspective, just from a time perspective, it's not unusual for items to sit there for 4 weeks. Like if that happens in the UK when we import stuff, it's very, very rare. I import a lot here, and most things sit in customs for a couple of hours, maybe a day. So for anything to last there longer than a week gets me really worried. But in Brazil, if it lasts a month, that's quite acceptable, and it's quite accepted that that's just how long customs takes there. So those things are worth bearing in mind, but you couldn't ask for a nicer guy to work with. He's really very talented and great at what he does. So do definitely consider speaking to Gondolindrim if you are looking for keyboard services in terms of PCBs. He's very good at what he does.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe I'll design a keyboard and then have him do some PCB work.
Yeah, we can do that, dude.
I have been meaning to design. I've been meaning to continue my previous keyboard design that very few people know about.
Well, we can definitely take a look at that, man. And,
we're gonna.
Made.
We're gonna. We are gonna. All right, and last but not least on our news doc, tell us about the Keyboards Mega Survey 2020, Jay.
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't been around in the hobby very long, or perhaps you don't use Reddit very often, what they've done over the past couple of years, they've used the Gout, who is a UK moderator. So Gouty, good evening, sir, if you're watching. He's historically done a few surveys. So every year he's kind of put up a survey that's had varying levels of success in terms of how many responses it's got. But Bloxbyte wants to do something a bit more grand this year and see it as almost a census for the community to find out how many people we have out there, what people's preferences are, what kind of keyboards we're buying, how much we like to spend, all of those kinds of things. Now, a lot of people are going to look at this and think, oh, it's a survey, I can't be bothered filling it out, and they're not going to do it, and the response rate is going to be quite low. But I would really, really urge you to look at this and try and fill it out when it becomes available. At the minute, they're just looking for feedback. They're looking for suggestions on what type of questions to ask, what type of questions people would be open to answering, and what the kind of form should look like in terms of the census, the survey, whatever you want to call it. And then that's all going to go live, and it'll be moderated in the next couple of weeks and over the next couple of months. But effectively, this is a really good opportunity for us to do a census and to do a bit of a poll to the community and see what the popularity is of certain things out there. We have basically no metrics to decide how big the community is other than how many people subscribe to RMK, and that's a terrible metric. Because people
really
might go there without subscribing, or they might be subscribed and never use it, or there's people that never even go on Reddit but are part of Geek Hack and Keep Talk and all of the other websites, and there's people that don't even go on any websites. They just watch streams like ours and Nathan's and Mechs on Deck and things like that as well. So to have some way of trying to collate that, to try and get an understanding of the size of the community, the preferences of the community, it's going to take people 5 minutes of their time to fill something out. You can do this over a coffee. And I think that once this launches, it's really, really important that we do try and get a good grasp of what's out there for community. It'll help us from all levels of the hobby, not just from the ground basics in terms of how to get into the hobby and what people want to do at certain age ranges and demographics. It'll also help vendors to understand what the community is and how that's changing, and how we can start to look at different kit breakdowns and things like that for sets and all sorts of different things. The possibilities are endless with something like this. So please, guys, when this does actually launch, please go fill it out. If you've got any suggestions on what they might want to do for questions and how you would improve a survey and how you might get people to do it, then definitely do that. I'm going to suggest that I offer some sort of giveaway as part of it, so one random entry will win a prize or something like that. So definitely take a look at it.
Yeah, I completely agree. This kind of info is always really awesome to me because I'm kind of a nerd and a geek. So I always like seeing like what people are using, what's the most popular, what's like this is the only way we can actually get this information. And someone in chat asked why post this on Reddit then. It was 10 strong. Yes, is promotion via Reddit the best method for that then? There's no real like amazing way to do this because all of our platforms are pretty secluded, all things considered. A lot of people that are on Reddit don't use Keycap, and a lot of people that are on Keycap don't use Reddit, for example. And of course, you know, there's Keep Talk and Type Hype, I think was another one. There's so many outlets, and it's not really possible to bring them all together. So the the absolute best thing you can do is to post it everywhere. Post it everywhere you can and get as many people to see it and to fill it out as possible, because you know otherwise the metric's not gonna make any sense at all. So we gotta do it.
Most people aren't even on Reddit these days. I think the vast majority of the community seems to be in Discord now. So you know, when you look across everywhere, there's I mean, Top Clack's got what, 2,000 members on the Discord, and you look at the main RMK one, it's got 14,000 members, but there's probably 200 different keyboard servers where people can go and talk about stuff and things like that. So I don't know the guy running this particularly, 10 strong. I'm not affiliated with it in any way, shape, or form. I do think I can come up with some ways of offering incentives to get people to fill this out, because I think it's really important to the community that we do it, and it just gives us all something to nerd out on. You know, who doesn't love a good spreadsheet full of or a good infographic full of different bits and pieces? You know, it'd be great to see an infographic come out of this and say, you know, there's approximately this 1,000 members and X percentage is you know, male and female, and you know, this is the average age range, and you know, this is the average layout that people use, and these are the types of boards that people have been really hyped about buying, and this is the average amount spent, and these are the types of keycaps that people want. All of that is so good to see, and it's really interesting to read through. So
and it's not just for like the consumers either. Like, this information can really help designers and vendors alike. Really, really big, really, really important, and can have a definite effect on the rest of our year and the rest of the community, honestly. So
absolutely,
definitely, I'm going to fill this out right after the show. I'm sure Jay probably already has.
Well, this is, just to be clear, this is just a call for content at the minute. Well, so they're looking for suggestions on what questions to answer. The survey isn't ready yet. Okay, so
fair enough.
Yeah, but, it's just a what type of content should they ask for? Yeah.
Be prepared, and make sure when the official census kind of goes live that you do fill it out, and then we can get some more information on our amazing community. We can figure out where we are and where we can go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Fantastic. And that rounds out our news doc for today. So we're going to talk about our sponsors for just a moment. Then we're going to move into our Q&A section, as we always do. So if you have questions, get them ready now. Feel free to ask them right now, and we will get back to them as soon as we are done with our sponsors. Make sure you use the @TopClack tag so we can see the questions a lot easier. All right, starting us out for today, of course, is Zeal Generation over at zealpc.net/TopClack if you want to be super amazing and help support us. And he has his usual array of keyboard switches available, which are all pretty fantastic. He has the Telios if you like linears, Zelios if you like tactiles, Xylence if you like tactile and silent switches, and Helios if you like linear switches that are also very quiet. He does have a variety of other things in stock as well, so if you like Telios but you're more into turquoise, or maybe 67 gram isn't your desired weighting, he does have the turquoise Telios in stock right now. 63.5 gram and 65 gram options, so a little bit lighter than the standard Helios. He also has the pink Roselios and Sakurios if you're more into silent linears but you don't like the orange of the Helios, and he has aqua Xylent switches as well if you don't like the way the normal Xylent switches look. These are a little bit more aqua. I actually have some very close to me, and they're pretty darn nice. And nice. Of course, I think today is it is right. It is the last day for the New Year's everything at 15% off sale. So now is a really good day before this closes tomorrow to get your orders in, because 15% off, pretty nice. And of course, if you use zealpc.net/TopClack, helps us out a ton as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also worthwhile bearing in mind that CS is coming up in the next couple of days, where Zeal is going to announce a new Switch according to his new newsletter as well. So we didn't talk about this earlier on. We'd usually put it in our news doc, but we thought we'd talk about this in our vendor spot.
What's funny is I saved the email and I clipped the picture, and I still forgot to add it to the news doc.
But yeah, there is a new Switch coming. We have got a question in about what we think that might be, so we'll cover that off in the Q&A section in a few minutes, guys, as well. But moving on, the next sponsor is Novel Keys. So this is Mike and Co. If you haven't checked out Novel Keys site, now is a good time to do so. They've just launched the GMK Peach Blossom group buy.
Which we forgot to talk about.
Yeah, well, it's here.
Whoops.
This key set's kind of gone under the radar a little bit, but it's a really well priced base kit. $100 for a base kit, which is a great price, especially when you consider the size of the base kit and what it includes. It's got all of your standard TKL layout. It's got a couple of different options for your bottom row, 65% ANSI only. If you do want a numpad or anything else, there are different kits for that, including UK ISO in that numpad kit. And there's space bars, 40% ortho, all sorts of other kits too. Very good pricing though, $100 for the base kit is pretty damn good. $45 for the numpad and ISO kit is again really good. Some lovely muted pink and white colors there. I have had confirmation that the legibility and the contrast is going to be better than what you can see in some of these screenshots and some of the renders. So it should be fine and usable. Definitely excited to see that come about as well. There's also a nice Brahma novelty as well that you can take a look at and pick up, which has got a nice little daisy type flower on it in a pink hue, which looks great. Other than that, Mike and guys have on the store some other bits and pieces. So they've also got the GMK Metropolis extras. So if you do like that set, there are still some extras available. I'm particularly a fan of the Midnight kit. I've just picked that up, so I'm going to be putting that on a board soon. I'm dead excited to do that. So please do check that out if that's your jam. As well as that, Mike has got all of the different switches that you could possibly want on store as well. So there's loads of different switches, loads of different combinations of switches that you can buy on there and springs and things. And you can pretty much outfit whatever board you want to from Mike's store, because he's not just got the switches, he's also got keycaps that are in stock. You've got Taihao, Cubic. I think there's still some GMK Korean beige add-on kits on there. There's wrist rests, there's desk pads. I got one of the Modern Life desk pads quite recently, which I'm a big fan of. All sorts of stuff on there. So please do go check out Mike and Co. And if you do want a 5% discount on anything that is in stock, you can use the code CLACKERS. That's CLACKERS, CLACKERS, all one word, and that will get you 5% discount.
Absolutely. Moving on, we have Input Club over at Kono.store, who has a few different things available. They do still have GMK Ursa, which I think is one of the best sets of the month, in my opinion. And I actually just joined this one pretty recently. And, nice. Yep, absolutely love that. Pretty nice price, $130. Gets you a pretty good base kit. Has some of the best novelties, I feel, of any GMK set. So, bam.
Did you buy Paddington?
I did not buy Paddington, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
But I actually fought with myself a little bit here. Maybe I should go back and buy it. I don't know.
It's $30. It's $30.
It's true.
You can buy that. It's a cheap kit. You can do that.
But I'm not gonna use the ISO anyways. So it's gonna be wasted on me.
Maybe you should build an ISO board just for that particular.
I do have one ISO board. It doesn't have a key set on it right now. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. Whatever. So if you want a super awesome nature themed key set, you have GMK Ursa. If you want something Pokemon themed, they have GMK Umbra still open. If you want the second best GMK Shark theme set, Sharkbait is I believe still open. At least it says it's still open. Pre-order, open for pre-order still. Okay, cool. So there you go. And of course, as usual, they do still have the Keystone pre-order open as well. So if you want to see what the feature of the keyboards might be like, bam, Keystone is how you knock on that door. All right.
Cool. Okay, jumping over to KBDfans. They have still got a number of different things in group buy. So they've still got the cases that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. They've also got the laser on switches, which are still there. I built them in my polycarbonate canoe a couple of weeks ago, so you can still see that VOD up as well if you want my thoughts on the laser on switches. Bottom line is they're a very nicely coloured gator on switch, but they're just a gator on switch. But $650 for 10 switches is pretty damn good either way you look at it. As well as that, they've also still got in group by the SA Mode Choco keycaps. So this is round 2. There's lots of different kits for these. It is a max key keycap set, but they've got a ton of different kits and colours and options that you can pick up from there as well. So you can kit out pretty much any board, including ISO, novelties, and all sorts of other bits and pieces as well. So feel free to go and check that out if you want to. Failing that, though, Way does have pretty much everything you could want in stock as well. So if you want any kind of keyboard to get people into the hobby, whether you want a 40%, a 60%, Way's going to have a kit that supports that, whether it's in group buy or in stock. There is a ton of great entry-level products here. You can do almost anything with the kits that are available on Way's store. You can get pretty much anything you want, from keycaps to boards and everything. So it's well worth checking that out. And it's definitely well worth checking out the B-Stock store as well, because there's often some great bargains that are posted on there. I think there's a chocolate-coloured tofu for $88, which is a bargain price for an entry level board. So do check those out, guys. You might find a really good bargain deal that makes it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Last but not least, we have the Key Company, who has a few different things going on right now. The Key plushie and desk mat group buy is open until tomorrow. So if you want to get some of that adorable Key plushie goodness or the desk mat, you have until tomorrow to do so. As well as Cam Little Pilot, which also ends tomorrow. So if you wanted a new Cam set, bam, here is your chance to do it. I believe it's the second Cam set ever ran, following Starry Nights. So pretty cool stuff, pretty new stuff, and it's pretty darn affordable too, all things considered. They do still have the Infinity Black and White and White and Black sets, which do end towards the end of the month, January 23rd, and these are pretty awesome. You get a lot of keycaps for your dollar, which I always very much appreciate. And launching tomorrow, they're going to have GMK Dark, which is something I've been looking forward to quite a bit lately. So tomorrow at 9 p.m., I believe that's Central Time or so, GMK Dark goes live, so that's pretty cool. And then next week on January 10th, Cat Drifter is going to go live, so we're finally going to get another cat set hitting the market. Love that. So make sure to go check those out, because they are good stuff. Look at this plushie. Look how adorable that is.
I know.
Yeah, why don't I have one of these yet?
Well, because there's only two, from what I understand, and they're both with Steph at switchkeys.au. So, yeah.
I need one of those.
I did hear from Jason that we might get one.
Oof. Jason's really good about sending us stuff. Like,
yeah.
We don't even ask for it. Like, honestly, like, we don't even ask for the stuff. Like, he's just like, here, you guys might like this. We're like, cool.
Yeah. Do you want to see one of these hoodies?
Yeah.
Sure, why not? Yeah, he's really good.
We rarely ask for anything, I feel like, on Top Clack these days, but like people still send us stuff, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I feel like you asked more than I do.
We're very lucky. I haven't asked for something in so long, it feels like. I don't know. Anyways, back to the Q&A, guys. Before we get to the questions, quick shout out to the City at Night, who earlier donated 500 bits. Totally forgot to mention it during the news doc, but thank you so much. He's actually an up-and-coming streamer that I checked out just the other night, and it was a very enjoyable build.
Oh, really?
Stream. Yeah, really nice quality. He's got good flow. He talks quite well, and he's a super nice guy too. So definitely go check out the City at Night if you're in the mood for some more keyboard build streams, as well as.
Check him out then. Yeah.
I think I missed a sub too, but the Streamlabs preview thing is like kind of broken. It doesn't actually show everyone that subs or donates anymore. So,
oh, that sucks.
If I missed your sub, which I think I did, I'm terribly sorry about that. But let's move on to the Q&A.
I know that Talisman did give a gift sub to Gondolindrim, who it appears is watching. So Gondo, I hope we covered your PCB services well enough for you.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, because it doesn't actually show up in stupid OBS, man. Maybe it's time to try out Stream Elements or whatever the other one was.
Yeah, maybe we should look at changing.
Anyways, back to the questions, of course. Continue the questions. Roll those in, guys, if you have them. Use the @TopClack tags so we can see them easier. This is the Q&A section of the show today, guys. So,
yeah, absolutely.
707 jamming with our first question. Predictions for the new Zeal Switch announcing soon, if you don't already know and can't say. We actually don't know. We don't know.
No idea.
I'll probably ask him tonight. I don't know if he'll tell me. He probably won't. So yeah, so I guess it's speculation at this point. So what do we think the new Zeal Switch could be?
I guess the easiest thing to say is it could just be another recolor of his boutique switches, because he's got the Aquas that we talked about earlier on today. Brian, you mentioned them during the sponsor segment. Yeah. It could be something as simple as a recolor. I guess the other options are it could be something completely new that we haven't seen before. Do you think Zeal would ever do a clicky switch?
I don't think so. I feel like ever since he started, on the whole Aristotle kick back when that was really popular, he kind of just, I think he kind of just feels and or assumes that like any Zelio housing basically plus the Aristotle stem is the clicky switch that he would want anyways, I feel like. So I don't know. I can't see him launching a completed clicky switch. I'd be really I would like him to, and I would be very surprised, but I can't see it happening. So
I can't see it either. I was playing devil's advocate with it because I just don't think that clickies are in Zeal's wheelhouse. I don't think that fits for him. But I mean, other than that, it could be maybe a silent tactile. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Let me try to find the email because I think there was kind of a hint in here.
Oh, was there? Okay. I did see it.
Maybe I saw it. I was like half asleep when I looked at the email, but I feel like there was one kind of hint. Sorry, guys. I'm looking over the email now to see if I can find anything that might lead me to believe. Maybe I just missed. Oh no. Okay, so let me try to. I don't want to share like my inbox with people, but let me share this particular picture. Give me 1 second. Open image in new tab. Jesus, why is this so difficult?
It's just difficult for you, Brian. I think that's what it is.
Oh my gosh. Why is that down? Okay, I'm not going to worry about this anymore. So, in the email, if you guys have it, open it up. If you don't, okay, whatever. The very first picture in the email, after the Happy 2020 announcement, there's a picture of what I presume are some Zelios with some, what looks to be Japanese characters. And under that, it says, "I am the Speed Hunter." And I have never seen that particular tagline before, I don't think, on any Zeal products. Which leads me to believe, I wonder if he's maybe trying to work on something a little bit more in the gaming region of like a speed switch with a shorter actuation or a shorter travel distance. So when I saw that was the first thing that came to my mind. Obviously, that is complete speculation. I have no idea if that's true or not. But I thought the "I am the Speed Hunter" quote was kind of interesting, if nothing else.
Interesting. Yeah, I have no idea, but I'd be interested to see what it comes out. Either way, I think it's going to be interesting to see what it is. There's lots of people saying it's going to be chock switches, and I think there was some suggestions on one of the Discords I was in earlier on today that it might be an Alp-style switch, which I can't really see. I don't see anyone bringing that back, and I don't think Gatoron actually have the capacity to do those at the minute, so
yeah,
I'm not sure that would be the same.
The thing about Zeal is a very particular vendor, and he's a very particular person, and he's very particular about what he does with his switches. I can't see him going off the rails and doing anything that's Alps. Even clicky or like even a speed switch. None of that seems logical to me coming from Zeal. Like I feel like it has to be a linear, or it has to be a tactile, and it has to be in the MX format, and there's no exceptions. That's how I feel. So I feel like it's going to be some kind of iteration of linear or tactile. I think is probably the most.
It could be material changes. So some people have been saying the UHM stems potentially. It could be that. It could be something similar. It could be some different material for the housings. POMs being quite popular recently. Perhaps Gatoron want to step into that market, and Zeal's convinced them to do so.
True. But you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a non-transparent housing. Show me a matte, opaque housing. And maybe a different composition of plastics. Maybe we can achieve a better sound. Because I know that's what a lot of people complain about. Zeal's lineup is probably they really are the smoothest switches on the market, like in their class. Like you can argue against that whatever you want, but it really is the truth. But a lot of people don't really care for the way his switches sound, and a lot of that is because of the particular plastic composition of the housings that he goes for. In which case, like, to make it that smooth, he uses that particular composition to make it that smooth, but he also wants the transparency because, a lot of people like the RGB stuff. Zeal PCBs obviously all have the SMD RGB, so he wants to kind of support that as well. But I would like to see, and I know a lot of people out there are with me because I saw a couple people mention it in chat, I would like to see a switch that is, it retains the smoothness of, the Zeal signature switch, but it also has a deeper, more robust sound signature as well. now that sound has become so popular in our community. I feel like that'd be a good way to approach it, and something that I think it would gain him back a lot of community cred. I feel like if he maybe focused on something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll have to. We've not got long till CES anyway, so I think the best thing to do is just wait and see, and we'll talk about it on the show once we know more. But I'm dead excited to see what it is. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what's next up question-wise? I think
the panda says alpacas. So he sent me some alpacas. I checked my mail yesterday and I didn't find anything. So
okay.
Hopefully, I don't know if they got lost in the post, or maybe my my front office apartment complex is lying to me when they said they didn't have the package for me. They gave me all my other packages, but yeah, I haven't seen the alpacas turn up yet. So I don't know. Maybe they just haven't shown up yet, or maybe they got lost in shipping. But
yeah,
I'm
I just
keep my eye out on it.
Picked some up. I just bought, I think, 100 or so from the vendor. So I'll see when they come in. I don't know when they're shipping. Actually, I think it's a pre-order, so it might be a couple months before I get them. But yeah, I've got some coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, just scrolling through the questions now. Nebulant says that has been in his promo images for a while. I think he's referring to the
the Speed Hunter thing?
Zeal. Yeah, I mean, I was just googling it. I am the Speed Hunter. I mean, it seems to be a lot about motorsport and cars and people doing stuff like that. So I don't know how that would relate to it, unless it is a speed switch.
I mean, because I mean, otherwise, like, why would Zeal use that? Like, what sense does that make towards his brand?
It doesn't, apart from the AE86 that he's got in his website on the book page that's opened. Which
that's true, I suppose.
That's literally the only other thing I can think about from cars. I don't know if he's into cars and stuff like that. I don't know. I wouldn't say I knew Zeal well enough to be able to say it, if it is. But I mean, I used to be subscribed to the magazine Car Hunters back in the day. So it was Car Hunter Speed Hunters back in the day. But I didn't know about the I Am Speed Hunter tag. So
yeah. Well, I mean, CES not terribly far away, anyways. So hopefully we'll find out soon.
When is that? Is that 17th of Jan, something like that?
I'm pretty positive it's this month. I don't remember the exact day. I guess we can just look it up.
Oh, it's 7th of January, so it's like
4 days
away.
Yeah, exactly. Easy peasy. We'll find out soon. I'll ping him for some info tonight. He probably won't tell me anything, but if he does, I can share it around the Discord or something.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover it on next week's show.
Yeah, as soon as we get the information. Straight Classy asking, did you guys see Man of Interest Xeno that he just got? I have not. Is it awful? Or is it amazing? I don't know. I actually wound up selling my spot to pay rent. So yeah, I have not seen that. But if you want to share some pictures or give us the backstory on it, let us know. Because I don't know anything about it. Metallic Charles, favorite buy of 2019, he's asking. So what is our favorite thing that we bought, presumably keyboard related, in 2019?
Oh, that's a tough question. Favorite thing I bought? I don't have a single answer for this. I've probably got multiple. So a couple of the prototypes that I've bought have been really, really nice. And I've been really impressed with how they came out. Buying my business license for Prototypist, that was a nice thing, favorite buy, keyboard related of 2019. If you want to refer it to group buys that I've joined or things like that, I think my favorite single purchase was probably my J80, the TKL. Which is just on the wall behind me. That was probably my favorite purchase, single item that I bought. But I didn't buy it in group buy. I bought it just off of, I think it was off of Mech Market Post or something like that. But yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's gonna have to be the Serious 60% from Project Keyboard. For a minute I was like, wait a minute, I didn't actually buy that because I didn't pay for it. But then I realized I did pay for it. So so I did buy that. It was a prototype, but I did indeed pay for it. Yeah, which was still my favorite board of 2019. I really wanted to see the Polaris and the Thermal because those two were also like really high front runners for me for board of the year, but neither of those have shipped in 2019. So unfortunately, I can't make that designation. But yeah, so by default, the Sirius is my board of the year. So that's got to be my best purchase, my favorite purchase. Good question though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Jake Reps is asking, stealing a convo from the Discord yesterday, best and worst 2019 innovations. My bad if I missed if you already said. All right, so best and worst 2019 innovations. Interesting.
That's a tough one as well. I think
maybe we should. You know what we should do? We should, no disrespect, but we should not answer this question. And you and I should put together a best and worst of 2019 top Clack edition.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah,
and then we can do like a small like stream or video on it or something, and that could be kind of cool. Like a 20 nothing like crazy intricate, but like a 2019 year in review. Kind of sort of thing in keyboard.
10-minute video, something like that. That sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good. We should definitely do that. Yeah, we'll.
Okay.
We should do that in a week or so. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna look into that. So sorry for not answering that right now, but yeah, and we're not gonna answer similar questions of that right now either, because we're gonna take ideas and try to put together a little streamer video for that, and that should be pretty fun.
Cool. Slippery Pete says, Brian, can you give me an idea of what you think of the board after a few days of using it?
Okay, so he's referring to the Perry 60 V2, which I did a build stream of last Friday. I think it was either Friday or Friday. I'm pretty positive. And yes, I have been using it since then. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I like this version a lot more than the V1 version, which I also have next to me, and I had quite a few issues. This one was much easier to put together, which I very much appreciate. I like the flare on the sides a lot more. I think that looks quite a bit nicer than having it all be even. And I like the fact that the screws no longer stick out of the bottom of the case. Which was the biggest problem I had with the V1, so thankfully that didn't go into production like that. The only problem I have is I didn't really care for what I'm presuming were the intended feet, which were like little brass standoffs, basically. So I don't like flat keyboards. I have been typing on this flat. I actually ordered bump-ons for it 2 days ago from Amazon, so I'm still waiting for those to arrive so I can get a little bit more angle, because otherwise it is completely flat, which I don't really like. But otherwise, the typing experience, actually pretty good. $100 for a gasket mount kind of setup. Obviously, that's excluding PCB and other components, but roughly like a $200 build in its gasket mount. I think it came out pretty well, honestly. I'm pretty happy about it. It may not be quite as luxurious or elegant as the boards that cost 3 or 4 or 5 times as much that are also gasket mount, but for the price, I would say this is very good.
Good. Glad to hear it. Cool. Okay, next question then comes from Jersky. Says MT3 versus MDA. I've still not tried MDA keycaps, so
yeah, that's the MT3. I haven't either. That's the E drug, right? The mix or whatever.
Correct.
It goes by so many monikers. Yeah, I haven't tried it either.
I've not even seen them in real life. I've not seen anyone buy them or take them to a meetup or anything like that either, or if they have, I've missed it. But I've tried MT3 a few times, and I quite like MT3. Actually, it's okay.
You know what's kind of funny and ironic? I believe the Top Clack YouTube channel has an MDA profile review, courtesy of previous Top Clack host, Man of Interest. So I think there actually might be. I know he got some. He reviewed them. I'm pretty sure there's a video, an old video on the Top Clack YouTube channel from when that profile was brand new. So maybe go check that out. Man of Interest is a pretty respected keyboard journalist, or whatever you want to call us. So you can get his thoughts on it at the very least. Yeah, so I haven't tried it either. So by default, I have to go with MT3. It's a very different profile, though. I mean, MDA is relatively short, relatively flat. The keys themselves have a very wide top, much wider than any other profile, and the curvature of the sculpt is very minor. It's very swooping and it's very minor, whereas MT3 is literally the exact opposite of all of that shit. It's very tall. It's incredibly sculpted. It's modeled after old beam spring caps. So I don't know. I have used MT3. It was nice, but it wasn't really for me. I don't really like tall profiles, and I feel like the incredibly aggressive sculpt of the MT3 really benefits you more if you type properly, which I don't. So I feel like I didn't really get the best use out of MT3 personally.
Yeah, I think I'd have to pick MT3 anyway because I do enjoy using MT3. I like that it's quite sculpted. It hugs your fingertips. It reminds me a lot of Hypro from Topra, which I kind of like as well. Hypro is the only way I'd ever use Topra, so I kind of like that as well. But yeah, MDA has never interested me purely because it's not sculpted enough. It's almost flat. I'm not a big fan of DSA, and it reminds me a lot of DSA in terms of it's really close to that kind of profile. I know DSA is totally flat and MDA isn't, but that's kind of leaning in that direction. Yeah, and I'm not a fan of the look either. I don't really particularly like the physical look of them. So yeah, definitely MT3 for me.
Cool. All right, there you go. Langlandia with his signature non-keyboard question every week is asking, would you rather be a reverse centaur or a reverse mermaid/merman? Also, why?
I think Nebula hits this on the head. Go full Bojack. Yeah, I think that's the right answer.
I think no, I gotta go with the merman on this one, because would that provide me gills? Would I be able to breathe underwater then?
I guess so, but you'd have a fish head.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what does the centaur actually give you? You get no perceivable benefits other than just looking like a centaur. But the fish could actually give you some benefits.
I feel like horses are more acceptable than fish. I mean, if you give someone a fish head, then they tend to throw it away. If someone serves you a fish with the fish head still attached, most people would cut the head off and get rid of it.
That has got to be the weakest argument I've ever heard for this question. This question was just asked.
Oh, have you heard a lot of arguments?
Yes, I have. I'm trying to bring logic into this, and you're like, nah, centaur is cooler because centaur.
The other side of it is that people like to pet and stroke horses and offer horses treats. So if I've got a horse head, I'm going to get a lot of treats. That's in my head how it's going to work.
Okay.
Bits of apples or sugar cubes or whatever else people feed horses. Then yeah.
You know what? Fine. That's good reasoning enough. I can definitely accept that. That's at least somewhat logical. I'm going to go with the merman.
He does say that. Remember though, reverse centaurs would still have 6 limbs. So would the fish head version, the merman version, would you still have arms and legs and fins as well on your neck?
Wait, how would a reverse centaur still have 6 limbs?
I think he means that you'd have the 2 front horse hooves and then you'd have the 4 human limbs as well.
So you have human back legs, centaur front legs, and then human arms?
Yeah,
because that sounds ridiculous.
I think the human arms would be your front legs, and then you would have horse legs at the front as your hands. I don't know. He's not being very clear. It's terrible. I don't know.
I gotta be honest. This is Lang's weakest non-keyboard question I've heard so far.
He's done better.
He's definitely done better. Back to the drawing board for you, Jeff.
yeah, definitely done.
We still love you though. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Slippery Pete says, thanks, Brian. I love getting feedback, and I'll take into consideration. Cool. Yeah, if you can develop if you could develop a better foot system, that's really what I think would make this a lot more elegant. Like, I know Windkeyless.kr has shut down now, but I remember Windkeyless.kr used to have a really simple but pretty elegant foot system where they basically just had a cut of like acrylic on the bottom, just like a layer of acrylic, and then you have a smaller piece of acrylic over it, then you have another smaller piece of acrylic on top of that, so you get a little bit more of an outward angle, and it doesn't look too bad. So I think if you can just cut acrylic and just make feet out of that, just long strips to give it some kind of angle, that'll drastically up the overall finished product, in my opinion.
Cool. Just scrolling down, Neb does say that he would send you his MDA key set if you want to try it out, Brian, as well.
Yep, send me everything. Don't expect to get it back, but send me everything.
And 707 Jamin, just going back to Langlandia's question, he says if you had the fish head, you could only breathe underwater because you'd have a fish head. So you'd drown on land in the air. You'd need to have your head underwater at all times to be able to breathe.
That seems like it'd be kind of fun, though.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, cool. Next question comes from Vint Keys. It says, what other plastic materials for keyboard cases would you be excited for? Plastic materials. So I think we've seen a lot of recently. So I know that we're going to do some UHM ones. So I know Jack Static was actually going to do some UHM WPE keyboards, and we've seen the stems. I think the prototypes didn't go so well for those, but I'd be excited to see someone actually pull that off and try that off, which is like a really high density plastic. I'd definitely be interested to see that.
Yeah, well, isn't Jack Static going to try that with the Rukia now that he's done with
that's what I said.
polycarbonate?
Yeah, I think he's tried it out once already and it didn't go so well. So I think they're going to try it again. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's quite difficult to mill. But there's a lot of other plastics and semi-plastics that are available that we could look at. A lot of thermoplastics and things like that as well. So some really high temperature withstanding plastics and things. You could. So one thing that someone did PM me about quite recently, and it's not plastic, but they did find like a really dense form of rubber that has plastic-like properties that you can CNC mill, and they wanted to try and do that, and they were asking for my help and opinions on a really simple design that would be cheap and easy to mill. They came up with something very similar to a tofu, just tray mount, just to try the plastic and the material, see if it actually worked. But it's like a really dense rubber material. I don't know if you guys have ever felt like an ice hockey puck, but it's that kind of material. So I'd be interested to see how that would go. But I think I'm more interested for people to try newer materials. Ceramics is a place that we haven't gone to particularly in the community, and I think ceramics could offer a lot for sound profiles and things like that. So I'd be excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. Plastic or not, I'm always just kind of interested to see new materials, particularly on keyboard cases or plates, where I think they definitely have the biggest impact. But yeah, I think as the desire to have more unique sound signatures for boards increases, we're only going to see people trying more and more new materials, which is great for all of us. I mean, it's certainly not a bad thing, so... Yeah, great question, though. I don't think I have any plastics other than the UHM off the top of my head that I'd like to see. I'm certainly not a materials expert, though. I don't know, dozens and dozens of plastic styles.
I can't find it now, but someone in chat said PPS. I absolutely love PPS.
Oh, yeah, that could be really cool.
If someone can do a PPS case, I don't think you can buy it in that kind of...
Is that technically a plastic?
It is, yeah, it's a plastic, yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome, because I've tried out the keycaps. They're really interesting.
Yeah, they have that metallic jingle when you rattle them together.
Yeah, it's so wild when I saw that.
Yeah, depending on what board you put them on, they can sound really good, or they can sound terrible as well. It really does depend on the board and the switches and everything else that you've put in there. But yeah, I'd be interested to try. A PPS case. I don't know if it's even possible to mill it. So, yeah. Let me ask some questions. Let me see if I can come up with something. Yeah.
I know a guy that knows a guy.
Yeah, I do want to see more for carbon fiber. So forged carbon fiber. It's light. It's great for travel. It's strong. It's tough. It sounds good. I want to see more carbon fiber in the hobby. That's one thing I do want to look at.
Sure. Yeah. Upas asking, are there any group buys you wish you joined in 2019? Should we save that for our video as well? I think we could. We could make that like a subcategory.
I think we should. I think I feel like we should name one now, whether it's a board or key set, and then we touch on the other subjects during the actual review. So if I had to pick one group buy and consider it to pass that I wish I'd joined that I didn't, I'd probably say Chimera.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Because I'm really, really gutted I didn't join that.
That's a good one. Yeah, I too am sad I didn't join the Chimera. There's been quite a few things I'm actually pretty upset that I couldn't get into. 9009 round 3, IDB 60, Polaris, Thermal. The list goes on and on of things that I wish I joined in 2019, but sadly could not.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk more. We'll do a 2019 year in review, and we'll talk a little bit more about stuff like that.
Yeah, perhaps we can sort you out on the IDB front, because at the minute I've got a lot of them.
Jesus. Yes,
I'm
definitely hoping to be able to get one of those extras, if nothing else.
We'll see what we can sort out. Yeah, we'll see what we can sort out.
Fantastic. All right, Upas with another question. Have you guys tried out Infinikey? What are your honest, unbiased by sponsor thoughts on quality. Okay, I'm going to point out right now that I am always unbiased. I do not care if they're sponsors or not. That is something I firmly believe in, and I hope I hope that comes across to people. I have no problems shitting on sponsor products. No problems at all. And I've done it numerous times in the past.
Yeah, if they send us something that we dislike, we will actively say that we don't like it, and we'll give you the accurate reason as to why. You know, it's never going to be a case of we would pander to sponsors or anything else like that. It's completely open, completely honest, completely genuine. The first time, for example, when Mike sent us ink switches, probably February last year, we both looked at them when they got our packet. They're kind of interesting, and neither of us thought anything about them. There was no hype around them, and then we actually reviewed them. They were really good. An example of something that was pretty terrible was the gold switches that Mike sent us as well. Didn't like those at all. Thought they were terrible. So I said exactly that when I used them on stream. You know, C3 stabs as well. I'm not a fan of those because I don't feel like they're particularly good. And you know, we will be absolutely brutally honest if something's not up to standard or scratch, and you know, we wouldn't ever shy away from doing that. So please don't think that we're ever biased.
The whole mission behind Top Clack is to make sure people are properly educated and they get the information that they deserve, because we don't want you guys to waste your money. If you're putting money towards keyboard stuff, we want you to have as much information about it as possible, and we want you to make the most informed decisions and purchases that you can. So that's like literally the entire mission. So like to lie about a product completely goes against what Top Clack stands for. Yeah, so anyways, sorry. Back to the actual question of the Infinity. It's not perfect. I was sent by TKC for free. I did not pay for it. Just for Top Clack to check out. I like a lot of it. The die subbing and reverse die subbing, both very, very good. The PBT itself feels pretty good. It doesn't. I don't think it feels as good as other PBT sets that I've tried, but it feels a lot better than some PBT sets that I've tried. It's pretty smooth. There is some minor warping on some of my longer keys. There is some discoloration on like one or two of my space bars, like my split space bars, which I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah, like some of them are a little bright white, like a really bright white, and some of them are a little creamier. So like there's some minor discoloration on there as well, but discoloration and warping aside, I think it's a pretty awesome value. Because I mean, especially the reason I like it is because you get so many keys per dollar. And I know that metric sounds stupid, but that's how I interpret so many things, so much value in the community, is what you get for each dollar that you're paying. And in that sense, Infinity is pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't disagree on any of that. I think it's good value for money. I would agree. The only thing that bugs me about the Infinity stuff is the legend positioning isn't always level. So if you look at it and you take the max symbols, for example, and if you took all of the keys that got max symbols on, they're not quite all in the same place. They're all kind of at different levels and different positions. Stuff like that really does bug me. But in terms of the actual quality of the PBT plastic, it's fine. The die subbing itself, irrespective of where the legends are, is really good. Especially the reverse die subbing. There's a tiny bit of bleed on some of the keycaps, and it tends to be the actual standard die sub ones, not the reverse die sub ones. But other than that, I think it's good value for money for something that ran the first time that's now going to have subsequent reruns. Those are all things that I know Rise and Jason and everyone else over at TKC are actively trying to fix. So I think it's good. I think ePBT is still, you know, the known quantity out there. I think they're still really a strong player in that ballpark, and I think that they're pretty good. So I would always consider Infinity as the challenger coming up to ePBT. That's how I kind of see it in my head. Not to say that position might change. Infinity might get better. They might not change some of the things that they need to change. Might, you know, the prices might drop. They might go up. I don't know. You know, but right now I'd say that Infinity is definitely the challenger to ePBT for cherry profile keycaps at the moment. But then of course you've got other manufacturers that do, you know, the cat keycaps which are die subbed as well. So all sorts of different options there. But I think they're, for value for money wise, I think they're very good. I think there's some slight problems. It depends on how anal you are about legend quality and control and things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, like you mentioned, Infinity is just starting out. When you compare them to Enjoy PBT, who has been doing this for numerous years now, that have already been able to refine a lot of their keys. Because when Enjoy PBT launched, they had a lot of issues too. GMK still has issues. Look at this. Look at the
GMK waves.
Look at the pound symbol on almost any GMK set. Look at how much lower it sits than the @ symbol here on this.
Oh, you see, the solution to that is to use the UK ISO.
Use the UK ISO. Fair enough. But I mean, like, it doesn't matter. Like, GMK is like arguably the pinnacle of key set quality in our hobby, and almost anyone is not going to argue that. Almost everyone in our community is going to say GMK. But even GMK still has numerous issues. And Joy PBT still has numerous issues. Lots of manufacturers, pretty much all of them, still have numerous issues, but they have been refining themselves. SP used to have an insane amount of issues when they, well, when I entered the community at least, not when they launched, because obviously they've been doing it for literally eternity. But you got to realize that Infinity's just coming out. Like, you can judge it as harshly as you want, and you totally should. That's fine. But know that it is a brand new product, and they haven't really had the time to actually get through the iterations to make every little last thing better or as good as it could be. So I think for an initial launch, they did a pretty decent job.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not perfect, yeah.
The only direction they can really go is up. It's hard for them to go down from where they are. So, yeah. Absolutely something to look at. And I think that answered probably the next question as well, which came from Speakeasy, which said, please rank your favorite PBT set menu. I think we've kind of given you a bit of a tier judge there. So I think ePBT is probably the standard for cherry profile keycaps. Infinity is on its way up and is the challenger brand to that effectively.
Yeah.
In terms of other profiles, I think the capped PBT is pretty damn good from what I've seen. I've not had any problems with that. There's only one.
What PBT?
The PBT cat caps.
Cat. Cat is amazing. I think Cat is probably my favorite PBT feeling overall. But BSP also up there. I'm not too familiar with the CRPs. I haven't used a CRP set yet. So I have no idea on that. And it's been so long since I've used an Imsto set, I don't really remember it. So, I mean, I'd have to put, for me right now, with my current knowledge, at the top, I would put Cat, followed by Enjoy PBT, then Infinity under that, and then, I don't know, like Taihao PBT, I guess. I don't really like Taihao PBT at all. But there'd be a really big gap between Infinity and the Taihao PBT.
Oh, huge, yeah. Huge, massive. There's also MT3, which comes in PBT as well. It depends entirely. We're talking about profiles again at that point, rather than necessarily PBT manufacturers, so that changes.
And then you also have to realize that a lot of people like their PBT a lot grainier, and some people like it a lot smoother. I like it a lot smoother, but I have talked to numerous people that are like, no, I want that stuff like sandpaper, and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't understand that, but you do you. So I mean, it's kind of preference as well. But Cat just feels so premium to me. Like the
legends are great on there.
The legends are great. The PBT is so silky smooth. The caps are really thick. They feel very dense and very sturdy. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, Key Creative is Key Creative. Doing a really good job. Next one I'd like to mention is Jersky again. He says, I'd like a Delrin keep case. Well, that's just POM. Sirius has already done that, so that's out there. Bobby McBobby says, Top Clack, what about Mute Mount? Not tried it yet. I'm still waiting.
I mean, the only thing we've seen it on is the U80A, if I'm not mistaken, which is either in the process of shipping or has not shipped yet.
Yes.
So we don't really know too much about it other than, I mean, we know how it works and we've seen renders and pictures, obviously, but none of us have tried it. So we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. As well, we got raided by Mex on deck with a Party 24. Hey guys, thanks very much for joining. Nice. Sorry we missed that. We were in the middle of discussion, so we missed that. But if any of you guys are still watching, thanks very much for joining. We really appreciate you having me.
Thanks, guys.
Mex on decks, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. All right, Langlandia. Another question regarding the Infinity conversation. The set you have, is that pre-fixes? I know they've delayed the candy bar sets to fix the legend items you talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, so mine was from, I think we got the ones from the first batches when they first got them in. So
mine's from I think it's even from a prototype round is mine. I'm sure Jason said that it was one of the first sets that they got in. So mine might even be worse than what the actual group buy ones were. I don't know.
I'm assuming mine is going to be the same as yours as well, so
Because we got them a long time before the actual group buy shipped. I think like a good 6 weeks before the group buy shipped. So
Yeah.
I suspect that they might be really early versions than even the group buy ones.
Yeah. We have very early versions one way or another. Whether it's the very first production launch or it's a prototype. At the newest, it's the very first production launch. So, yeah. No surprise there. I imagine they're working to fix it, as they should, and that's good. And that's why I don't think... I think it'd be too harsh to say bad things about Infinite Key right now, because it's still so new.
Absolutely.
Straight Classy says, gonna sound weird maybe, but I think the price per cap is crap for me. Because I just use standard layouts, so for me it's price versus price. That's totally fair, absolutely, yeah. So GMK over Infinite Key all day long because they are both $120. Yeah, that is a very, very reasonable way to look at it. GMK will have 20 unused caps and Infinite Key will have 100 unused caps. End of the day, it's base price for me. That's why Infinite Key should do $40 small base kits, for example. Interesting way to look at it, yeah.
I kind of agree with him because my everyone knows I use UK ISO and everyone knows that that's not always supported, with every key set. And I look at it that way as well. I don't look at it necessarily the cost of the base kit. I look at it as a cost for me to get the keys that I need, irrespective of what other keys are left over or not. Because I'm always going to have the ANSI keys left over. That's just a fact. I don't use them. They're going to be left in the box, the bag, whatever. So my view is, what does it cost me to get the key set that I want? And for example, if you look at Ursa, that means I've got to buy a $130 base kit and I think it was $45 or $30 ISO kit, something like that. So I'm spending $160, $170, maybe up to $200 depending on the keycap set. And if you compare that to a year ago when ISO was included in a lot of base kits, even if it's just basic ISO support, I was paying $120, $130, $140 for those sets. With some had UK ISO, $125 for GMK Calm Depths. So now for me, the cost to get the layout that I want has increased dramatically. It's gone up by on average of $50 when I look at the key set group buys I joined in 2018 versus what I joined in 2019. So I completely agree with that viewpoint, Class. Even though it comes from a very different place, you're looking for the actual cost of a base kit, irrespective of how many keys you get. I'm looking at the cost just for me to get the coverage that I need. So it's it's absolutely the same.
Yeah, definitely. That's certainly one way to look at it. I mean, I'd call that personal value, which is just as important, if not more so, than overall maybe material value or whatever. Yeah, you do get a lot of keys, but if you're only going to use a third of them anyways, then I mean nothing really changes. I've had the same argument with GMK lately too. I mean, it's just like I buy all these GMK sets and I use a third of the caps because I prefer 60%, but I'm still paying for the full base kit. But I don't know. I feel like compatibility is something like what a base kit should entail is something that'll literally be argued forever till the ends of the earth. Or until our community comes to a complete agreement where everyone is like, yes, that makes the most sense, which will probably never happen either.
Or until MOQs aren't necessarily a thing and people can pick and choose what they want. You could customize a base kit, for example. So I'm just spitballing with an idea out here, but effectively you could pick a chunk of keys to make up your base kit. Whether you selected ISO or ANSI, you'd pick one or the other, and then the base kit price would remain unchanged. And then you might be able to swap out, 7 new spacebar support and swap in, I don't know, split spacebar support, things like that. The bigger the community gets, the more opportunity we've got to explore stuff like that. So, and the more opportunity we've got to stock things rather than just doing group buys, the more opportunity we've got to look at different ways of doing things. We don't always have to follow the group buy model that's been tried and tested. There is other alternatives once we get to a tipping point and MOQ isn't really an issue anymore. And we're almost there. We're not too far away from it. I reckon in the next year we're probably going to get there. And then it's about how creative we can be and how can GMK and other keycap vendors and producers change their systems where we don't need to worry too much about MOQ of individual keys and we can move to different things. A really good example of this is the cat and cam stuff that we've looked at. So the way that they do MOQ is very, very different. You can have an unlimited number of kits as long as you hit a certain MOQ for the number of keys overall. I'm simplifying it a little bit here, but that's broadly how it is. As long as you sell X number of keys, it doesn't matter what legends you have on those keys. And that's something that the more we start to produce with GMK and other providers, that's something we might be able to explore. So I think there's a lot of future changes we can make to that, and there's a lot more to come. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think right now we're just trying to stumble through getting to that point. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I do think there's going to be a lot of development in that space.
Yeah, I feel like hopefully that's something that we can kind of get sorted out in 2020. Because I feel like we're really right on the tipping point. We're really right on the edge of being able to figure out what makes the most sense for the money in terms of kitting. We're still certainly not there yet, but I think within 2020, it's possible we will be able to make a more clarified distinction. But you know what? That census that we were talking about earlier can help a lot with that. What layouts are people using? Yeah. What kind of keys they're buying? What makes the most sense for them. This is the kind of information that we need, that those kind of surveys only help with. But yeah, that's a great point, Classy, honestly. It's not at all a bad way to look at it.
No, yeah. C Madrid says compatibility is nice, but not as nice as an extra $10 off and no ISO. Well, I mean, I get that people don't want ISO, but I'd say the same about ANSI keys. So why can't I save $10 and not have ANSI keys in my base kit? And I think that's where we might be able to get to in the future. We might be able to pick and choose and swap out different things. And as soon as we get to a point where MOQ doesn't need to be hit in the same way for GMK, we'll be able to get to that point. So it's not about an us versus them, or it's not about an ANSI versus ISO. Those shouldn't even be debates. Keycap compatibility should be available for all. The whole point of this hobby is that it's custom and bespoke, and if I want something that's bespoke, I want something that's bespoke. And I think part of the big reason why GMK Hugo has struggled is because it doesn't offer ANSI correct US English legends in the base kit, and I think that's big. One of the big problems why it's languished. So trying to accommodate everyone. I think GMK Hugo has shown people that use ANSI what it's like to be an ISO user and how we struggle. Now the base kit is going to make it, which is absolutely fantastic news. It's going to get brought out, and so is the capitalism kit. So you can get those US English legends.
Oh my god, yes.
But yeah, but you have to buy both kits. So yeah. So Hugo shows ANSI users what the struggle ISO users have all the time is. It doesn't absolutely. I disagree when it shows that you can't have ISO and no ANSI, because ANSI is in the base kit. Just no one goes and looks for it. So that's that. ANSI is there. Cover your keyboard.
It's just a regional distinction, right? Because most ANSI users are like, oh, ANSI is what most people use, and that's what I use, and that's what matters in the base kit. And then all the ISO people are like, well, wait a minute, why do you guys automatically get to be more important than us?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at GMK is a German-based company. If you go to their offices, every single keyboard in their office is ISO layout because they're a German company, and that's what they use here. I think what Hugo has done is it's brought to life what the challenges that minorities feel to the masses. That's what it's done, irrespective of whether it makes them a Q or not. That's what it's done. It's made people realize where those challenges are. So yeah. Irrespective of how you feel about everything, just because ANSI is popular, the hobby could have gone a different way if it had developed quicker in Europe than it did in the US. ISO could have been the majority user base here. It's entirely possible that could have happened. It just happens that the US base grew larger than the EU and did quicker, and that's why ANSI is more prevalent. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think if as a community, as the whole community, if we took all the energy that we had and spent on being like, ISO sucks, boycott ISO or this and that, and we're just like, hey, like, how can we make everyone happy? We could probably come up with a lot more solutions, honestly.
Yeah. And Madrid's come back with another point. He says, I understand ISO's challenge, I'd just rather not subsidize it. Yeah, but the keycap sets that don't include it now cost me, on average, something like $50 or $60 more to get. And I can't just buy the base kit because it doesn't cover it. I have to buy two kits to get it. And that just means that fewer people who want the ISO support buy it. So by penalizing it, you get fewer sales in that area. So you have to support something to increase uptake and increase usage. Penalizing someone for using something is just going to turn them away from actually joining those group buys. So that's actually a really negative way to look at it. So yeah.
All right, moving on. We have another question from Iwane. He's asking, do you think with Keycap still not delivering DSA Magic Girl should be taken as a warning sign about people running too many more cat sets until they start to actually deliver the ones that have run? So that's arguably the biggest problem with Keycap right now, is how long it takes them to actually manufacture sets, to complete sets, to ship sets out. You know, the Cat Alpha, the first Cat group buy, which was just a white on black set, took quite a while from conception to actually delivering. So I don't know. Keycap is a relatively new factory. They do other things as well. Like they do have on Z Frontier right now. They have the made to order ABS cherry profile UV printed caps, which are an amazing value in my opinion. By the way, I have a set. I absolutely love it. But they do make those to order, and if you go to Z Frontier right now and place an order for one, it's made for you and shipped to you in like just a couple of weeks. Like it's really not that bad. So I think I don't know if it's like a specific to like maybe their cat manufacturing line or like their molds or something, or maybe something that slows down production. But they are capable of doing things quickly and manufacturing things and shipping things quickly. But historically, Cat has not been on the receiving end of that, unfortunately. So hopefully, just being a newer manufacturer, they are just kind of working out the details and trying to get things more polished, more streamlined to actually get the sets out to us.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question to answer.
I do feel like we should wait till we see more results until we start having group buys for stuff. I think interest check is fine, saying I want to run this in this profile, but I think running too many group buys before we've had proof that the companies can keep up with demand, that is where we start to enter struggles and difficulties and all sorts of things like that. So I think my view on this is very much that we should probably slow down in terms of doing the group buys until we actually have some more stuff delivered, because all we're doing is extending those delivery times. So we might get a quote now that says it's 6 months from when you place the order. So for the day the group buy ends to the actual date it ships out to customers is 6 months. Right, fine. But because they've already got 9 key sets that they've given that 6 month timescale to, well, does that move that 6 months? Does that not actually start on the day you hand over the money? Does that start 3 weeks later, 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later? What does that actually look like, and how is that going to be impacted the more that stack up? We know that GMK ran into this issue and lead times increased from 12 weeks to 14 weeks. So GMK have now spun up an extra 25% delivery because they can do it. They're an experienced production company. They know what they're doing. They know how to look at that. So in terms of a backlog, and scope creep is a big thing in the industry that I work in, the more that you give them to do, the more that they're going to struggle down the line. And it might not impact them now. It might not impact them in the 2 key sets down the road. It might be 5 key sets down the road. But at that point, you might have to start to worry about it. I don't know. Or it could never be an issue. You might get lucky. I'd say the same for any production company. Any manufacturer of anything can suffer from taking on too much work and providing lead times that are unachievable, but not because they might feel like they're achievable at the start, but that can easily change. So I do feel like my view is we should probably slow down in terms of running all of these Keycap sets, in terms of group buy, taking people's money and handing that over to Keycap and the cat producers and all of that kind of stuff until they actually start to deliver stuff. Doing interest checks and everything else, absolutely fine. Get interest, see if people want the Keycap sets, the colorways, all of that kind of stuff is absolutely valid. But I do think that we can ask too much. I mean, if we got to a point where we'd had 2 cat sets delivered and there was 24 in the queue, that feels wrong to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we only have 1 cat set delivered, I think, right now, and obviously we don't really know what the lead times are going to be like, because it doesn't really matter what they tell us, because we haven't really gotten going with cat yet. So if they tell us 3 months, we have no idea if that's true. If they tell us 6 months or 9 months or 12 months or whatever, we have no idea what's accurate, because historically all we have to go on is Cat Alpha, which timeline-wise did absolutely terribly, completely abysmal, even though I do like the key set so much as a product. But yeah, it just... We don't know yet. Let's give them time. Let's put 2 or 3 sets in their queue and see what happens for a while, and just stop. Just stop for a while and see what happens. See how long it takes us to actually complete those, to get those shipped out, and then we can give them some more. And now we'll have a good idea of what their kind of production line can be like. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Jay.
What have we got in the cat queue at the minute that's had a group buy? Oasis.
What's the one
Eternal.
that Minterly ran?
Was that Cat Eternal?
Eternal? Was it Eternal?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably a few others. I think there's Drifter starts this month, I think. I know Eski's running Cat Lich. Is that January or February, sometime like that?
Did Jade start yet? Cat Jade? I don't know if that actually started. I don't know.
Yeah, there's too many group buys to remember everything that's running, but yeah.
Cat Explosion. Yeah. I don't. That hasn't ran yet. That was interest check only. I think Jade might have been interest check only.
There's also the cam sets as well, because they're creative too. So
that's true.
Little pilot that's run,
and
I imagine.
Technically, there has to be a similar or the same production line, right? Because cam is literally Cat row 3. It's just all uniform row 3 in the same way that SA all row 3. Is the same caps that you would get in a sculpted SA set, just row 3.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I think Little Pilot, since Cam Little Pilot is running right now, that'll be a good kind of benchmark to see how long a Cam set might take, because Cat could be comparable in production time to Cam.
Yeah, I guess there's probably something in the region of maybe 5 or 6 keycap sets that have run through it as well. So we just need to see now. We just need to wait and see what stuff's happening and how it's coming out, because the black on white was rerunning as well. I know that was rerunning. So, there's all sorts of stuff that's in production with it. We just need to wait and see how it turns out.
Sure. Yeah.
Next question comes from Langalandia. He says, "Where's my big ass enter sets?" GMK have the molds, man.
Yeah.
If you want to run them, GMK have got the molds.
There are Enjoy PBT sets in existence. Multiple Enjoy PBT sets that feature big ass enters.
Yep. So you can do it if you want to do, dude. GMK, you can do it with PBT. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Straight Classy mentioned about the ISO discussion. He said it's more about 14 space bars in one kit than it is the ISO keys. Yeah, I think we've talked that to death now. Yeah. I agree.
I think at the end of the day, it's impossible to have a GMK or almost any key set base kit that just has literally everything in it. But
Madrid came back and said, he tagged me and said, "I wish it was easier to split up the sets too." And I think that's the thing where we need to get to. We need to get to a point where MOQ doesn't matter, and I think
once we break the barrier of MOQ mattering, we can start to kind of develop better relationships with the manufacturers, because they know that we can very solidly start providing them with quite a bit of revenue as long as we keep things rolling.
Yeah, and it's more about being able to look at different things. Like I mentioned before, the opportunity to switch in and out different keycaps depending on what you're using and stuff like that, and different legends and stuff, and approaching how MOQs are structured in a different way. So Cat does a really different methodology. We've seen that. I'd be interested to see some of the methodologies, and we can take a look at other industries. But we just need to get to that point where 150 sets isn't a lot for a GMK set, and whilst that isn't for some sets like Olivia Plus that sold 3,000, 4,000 base kits, it is for some other sets like Yugo and things like that. So we just need to get to a point where it's not going to matter for anything, and then we can start to look at different things. So yeah, dead interested for that.
Yeah, good questions though.
I think that's it for questions. I think we're up to speed now. There we go.
Yeah, I don't see any more either. So very, very nice. Maybe we just crossed the 3-hour mark being live, so now's probably a good time to take off, so Jake can maybe get some sleep before he has to work in a few hours.
No work. No, I'm
no work. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, we had like 9 topics on our news doc, or 10 topics, I think. And,
I know we're still 3 hours.
Somehow how does this always happen? We have to have a better way of streamlining this.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Madrid says, convince GMK to look at key set sales as a whole and relax on the ISO MOQ requirements.
It's not even the ISO MOQ requirements, it's the childcare MOQ. I mean, what we're talking about here is a symptom. It's not the problem. The problem is the MOQs, and now they have to be structured in a certain way for the business to make sense. And that's what we're trying to get past. Once we get to a point where the business makes sense, irrespective of what MOQs are, then it doesn't really matter, and we can try new things. But we're just in a difficult middle ground where the business has to make a profit, and therefore it has to set MOQs to be able to achieve that profit margin. And we're as a community struggle to get some kits to those MOQs. So we just need one or the other to break or change or fall, or to be able to give us some different options. So we're just in a funny. It's almost like a no man's land in between at the minute. So what we see is just a massive symptom of MOQs being the problem. So yeah, we just need to see how we can change that going forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and with that, we are going to wrap up for the show today. I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. Thank you all so much for coming out to watch and support us. To all of you that donated bits, that subscribed, resubscribed, etc. It means a lot to us. It really does.
It does. Huge amounts.
Yes, and of course, you can check below the stream. You can find links to our official Discord, which you do need to be in to win the giveaway that we did launch today. You could use the giveaway command to bring up that. It'll also be in the announcements channel of the Discord after the show, as well as the descriptions of the YouTube AOD and the YouTube VOD and the AOD as well. So yeah, make sure to get in on that. You can also check out our YouTube videos down below. I can link to that, as well as other various outlets. Join the Discord. Come talk to us, hang out, and play some games with us, or talk about food or anime, or whatever you want. There's something for everyone there. We got lots of channels. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Upcoming build streams. I am not doing anything tomorrow because I am going over to my father's house to make some homemade noodles.
Oh, nice. That'd be good. That'd be fun.
Which is very random, but yeah. So I got nothing tomorrow to build stream. However, I do plan on starting Behind the Keyboard next week, probably on Friday.
Excellent.
So, reviews finally coming back to Top Clack. A lot of people have been asking for that, so look forward to that because it should be pretty good. A lot better than they used to be on Top Clack, at the very least.
Cool, yeah. In terms of build streams for myself, on Sunday I'll be building a Key Cult number 2, brass Key Cult number 2. Really excited to do that. It's for Mike of Novel Keys. That's sat at the side of me at the minute, so I'll be building that on stream on Sunday at the usual time. And I've got plenty of boards lined up. I think I've got 24 boards in the build stream lineup for this year, so that's nearly 6 months worth of content. So yeah, we should be good.
Casual 24 boards, no big deal.
Yeah, only 19 of mine. The others are other people's.
You have more boards. You have more boards in your build queue than I currently own. By quite a few, in fact. I think.
Wow.
Oh well. Yeah. Oh well. We could stream all day talking about how Jay is so much better than myself, but instead we're just gonna end the stream. So once again, thank you all so much for coming out. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day and you have a great new year. Remember to join that giveaway if you haven't already, and look forward to more giveaways and more streams this year. Top Clack is going to change a lot this year for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you soon, guys, and come watch on Sunday. Get ready for Behind the Keyboard starting soon, and if you miss both of those, we'll definitely see you next week.
Yep, absolutely.